Welcome to Lane by Lane, a show where we argue for argument's sake. I got 3 intelligent dudes here with me to try and argue about some different things, all relating to competitive League of Legends. We might stray outside those lines just a little bit.
All related?
I know. As soon as I said it, I was like, maybe I walked that back a little bit.
You know, Kobe, don't correct our host, okay? Dash, you did the best you could.
Yes. Hey, Freak. For the first time ever, Freak is going to start in the lead. Right,
wait,
that backhanded comment.
I just sabotaged myself.
That backhanded compliment gave you points?
It means his head is in the right place, right? Because that's what this show's all about. It's about the balance of compliment
the bottom left
and
corner.
flame. Right, so let's dive straight in. Our first topic today is aside from Cloud9 and Team Liquid, which LCS team has the
FlyQuest
potential to actually win Summer Split? FlyQuest says.
Look, I learned from the game show, Crumbs. You have to answer midway through the question because you can read faster than Dash can talk. The answer is FlyQuest. So I get the best answer here. FlyQuest are on a big winning streak. They just beat Team Liquid, heads up, a week or so ago. They are clearly the best team, or I should say third best team in the league right now. At least they've got amazing players all down the line. It seems they've got most of this stuff figured out. Fanforeign is a top 3 jungler right now. PoE is a top 3 mid laner right now. Solo's incredible. Ignar is probably a top 3 support, while Turtle isn't quite up to his level right now, but he's won like 4 titles. Like, this team clearly has what it takes to actually win. These players are ready. They're excited.
It's wrong.
And obviously work well together.
All right,
it's wrong.
Let's hear it. Where were
it's
you?
TSM. Listen, this is the best
it's
of one. It's a best of one. And yeah, in best of one, FlyQuest could definitely go far. But in a series where their champion pool is so limited,
made it to the finals
in
with the exact same roster,
first of all, it's a different split. It's gonna be TSM. They always pop off during playoffs somehow. The team never makes sense in spring or summer. That's the whole point. But they always deliver when it comes to playoffs because they at least have the veteranship with Bjergsen and Doublelift in the team. So TSM can definitely contest.
He's calling on Bjergsen and Doublelift.
I'm yawning over here, Dash. These explanations are just so boring. Freak's like, they're a good team, you know. They're the next in the standings, so they're gonna get there, you know. That makes sense. How about James? How about we get some excitement in here? They took the easy answers. They went from the top of the standings. I'm going to dig a little deeper. I'm finding the evil geniuses. You know why? Because they have an extra world champion in addition to Bang. Now they've got Huni. They play together. They have innate synergy.
He didn't win, Kobe.
Take a little bit.
He didn't win, Kobe. You lose points. You got that wrong.
They play together on stream, not at World. They have innate synergy. Did you ever watch Bang stream when they played together, Freak?
Great.
I like it. It was aspirational thinking. Evil Geniuses is going to have multiple world champions on their roster when they win later this year. Moving on to topic number 2. What is one older iteration of a champion? This could either be pre-rework or pre-significant nerf or change that would immediately make the biggest impact on the pro scene. So throughout the 10 years of League of Legends, which champion would you reinsert into the game?
Oh, Rise.
There it is.
Right. I mean, there's like 3. Exactly.
I hate you and your Rise answers.
Every single version of Rise has been like completely crushing pro play. There was the full machine gun Rise where the passive was every spell does it. Right. There was the less AoE version of Rise. I mean, what version of Rise wouldn't be in pro play is the real question here. Maybe like the
it has to be Mr. Fate original version with the AoE stun gold card. There's no way that doesn't have the biggest impact. AoE stun gold card Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is already 100% pick ban rate right now, and if you added back in the AoE stun, that would be easily the biggest
so that would have no impact.
You never
see banned every game.
Never see either though. It'd be both permaban, and one that wouldn't be permaban, and anybody could play Old Scion. Point and click stun, AP shield, perfect for roaming. It's the Doinby style all over again. Think about it. Scion, stun pop, Old Scion all the way.
The stun came out of his eyes, not out of his hands.
Oh, my bad.
But extra points there, Kobe, for knowing how the champion actually worked. That was a fun one. Let's move ourselves right along, though. Which team is going to be the 8th and final seed to make the LCS playoffs. Remember, 8 teams make playoffs in summer now.
Dignitas.
Oh, I do.
Dignitas.
No.
Yeah, it's Dignitas. It's so obvious Dignitas. But you actually have seen them win a few games recently the last couple of weeks. I think it's CLG falling out. It's Heart of Thieves staying in around 7th. Dignitas make the cut. They're just 1 game behind. They can do it in 4. Yes, they can. Absolutely. I believe in Dig because they've got the player skill to get there. They've had a rough start, man. They've had to go through a lot of whole roster swaps and whatnot. Ultimately, we're saying, hey, who's the 8th best team? It's Dignitas. I don't have the brightest thing to say because they're the 8th best team, but they're the 8th best team. They're going to make it.
So CLG and Immortals drop out.
Not the 8th best team.
Right
now, actually, Freak, they're the 9th best team. That's why CLG is going to be able to do it because they are the 8th best team. You forgot about Po Belter. Po Belter is going to put in work to beat the entire team of Dignitas, okay? There's no way that CLG let them pass them at this point.
Po Belter, the one-man army. Yeah, how good is Po Belter individually? Normally we do like mid-lane tier rankings. On the team rankings, is Po Belter just 8th? Just instead of CLG,
POB
we just
team?
put Po Belter.
Yeah.
Might as well.
I'll take Phoenix at 7th, and sorry, that's just how that works.
There you go. Crumbs, what were you thinking? Which team is going to be 8th?
I was thinking both of these guys, but now I have to entertain a really tall story, so I'm going to double down with it. Immortals is the 8th place team. Do I believe it? Hear my story before you decide. CLG.
Wait, so we don't even know if he believes it at the end. All right.
Of course he doesn't believe it.
CLG definitely on a nosedive in the terms of the standings, and then Dignitas, yeah, they look good, but inconsistent. You don't know who's starting in the top lane. They could just get all those champions bad. And I guarantee you, they're going to put Afro on Tom Kench a few more games. That experiment's not done. They're going to give Dardox and Karthus, take some L's here and there, and before you know it, like, oh god, playoffs are here. We thought we were completely out. We didn't know it was a 6-team playoff bracket. Good chance they didn't know that as well. It happened last split, so don't count it. Don't cut it out.
All right, cool. So I'm going to give you about 500 points. Then I'm also going to take away 500 points because you said nothing about the team that you said would finish 8th. You only talked about their team.
Well done.
So I just want to point that out. But I wanted to recognize the work that you put in by first giving you the points.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, what is one
Can I get points back then, James, if I edit my Huni thing to just be world finalist and not be champion?
Yeah. Hey, can
I edit it?
Wait,
okay, good.
Actually, yes. For caring
Fix that
about
one
the
in post.
facts, Kobe, and for admitting mistakes.
I'm offended that I haven't just outright said a wrong thing in the show, and I'm somehow tied for first with Kobe.
Yeah, I don't know how
I didn't put the right answers on time. I complimented you at the very beginning of the show, and you're just giving Kobe points he doesn't deserve.
I'm offended. I'm offended that he can say that's a compliment. That's not a compliment.
It's not a good look for you. All right, we got 4 questions for you to make up all the differences here. What is one change that could be implemented to better promote amateur North
I got it.
Okay. All right, Crump.
Easy. All right, you have tournaments that are, you just have more tournaments, but specifically tournaments that are ran from the streamers that are doing all the viewing and anything. You have them with a sponsor put forth a prize pool combined of, hey, like a TCS kind of thing, but you have a few more, and so you have exposure, you've got viewership, you've got good talent that wants to participate because they get to be involved with these streamers. So I think that you basically have multiple TCSs from all the top streamers.
Okay.
What you need are not just them playing against other amateurs and other streamers. We need the overlap. We need the amateur scene crossover with Academy tournament, and we need the Academy tournament crossover with LCS tournament. That's how we get them better. That's how we get them leveling up to the next stage. Yes, you need viewership. Yes, you're going to need sponsors. That's going to come along with the hype of, is this Academy team going to lose to an amateur team? Is this LCS team deserve to be here?
All right, Kobe wants that interplay again, Freak, between the different leagues and the different echelons of players. What about you, though? What is your thinking for putting a spotlight?
All right. Well, I have an idea. If I believe it, listen and find out. So it's a simple rules change in the LCS. Right now, the way it works is you can play 3 non-resident players in a week, only 2 of which can be in any game at a time. You drop that down to 2 and 1 and 1. You have less imported players overall, and that means more spots open up to the native North American talent. right? Insanity might have gotten a shot in the LCS earlier. Pobelter and Demonte would have been on starting rosters from the beginning of the year with this going on. It's an easy way to get more people involved. Yeah, we're still going to have 6 Danish mid laners, but that means you got, 10 native supports, and that would work.
Whoa, hang on. Hey, what 10 natives? There is NA talent. I think we have dispelled that myth. But how much of it is
Academy
there?
and LCS?
How much
there will
of
be
it
10 native supports. Corin, Ignar, and all those guys should stay. And
hey,
then
look,
you got
to add new people. Where are the new people coming out? Where are these new supports?
The question was just how you
gotta
promote
play.
NA
Chimes didn't play.
Well, I'm challenging if Freak believes this. That's what I'm challenging.
I asked you to listen to my argument.
It doesn't sound like
it doesn't
sound like Freak is promoting NA talent in the question about how to promote NA talent. He's promoting imports. So what's going on here?
Yeah. That's a Benedict Arnold move, Dash. You're gonna stand for that in your show?
Hey, look,
yes.
I follow the logic, man. I am a man driven by logic, and I follow the logic that if you remove opportunities for teams to use more imports, they naturally have to move towards North American talent. Whether or not the talent is there is to be debated, but it is a logical system for how you promote the already existing NA talent. Now, Crumbs, once again, you're questioning me, and I don't know why, because I'm the one in control of the money. The coins, the whatever you want to call it, the currency by which we play and dictate a winner, I am in control of.
Dear Dash, I apologize. I apologize for my use of currency and speaking towards the king of the...
I've got things to do, Crumbs. 4 questions in. Kobe's in the lead, 2,200 points up. Freak just behind at 2,100, and Crumbs, oh boy, it's not looking pretty, but he's got room to go.
Make it back.
After we come back from the break, we'll see who wins lane by lane. Stay tuned.
From the LCS team in sunny California, it's the return of LCS Game Show Week. Join us all weekend long for the competition, starting with Lane by Lane on Friday. Countdown, the game show returns on Saturday with new games, new rules, and all your favorite contestants. Then, stick around for Sunday, where LCS Bingo gives fans the opportunity to win fabulous prizes.
Cloud9 and TSM, a battle between the most dominant team in LCS history and the winningest team in LCS history. Flashes still gets stunned and cannot get out. Goes in for another one, and look at that! But Sven has come around for the flank, and Vulcan just shuts him down. Crowd control the entire team. Bjergsen shut low. Sven goes in for the play. Most teams lose by 30 minutes. Well, guess what? TSM is most teams to Cloud9.
Welcome back to Lane by Lane, where we've got three guys locked in heated battle for my affection and my arbitrary coins. Kobe is leading, 2,200 points up. Freak just behind. Crumbs bringing up the rear. Let's dive straight back into the controversy, gentlemen. With 2 weeks left in the split and C9 stumbling lately, who is now your Honda MVP frontrunner? Oh, Crumbs wants Corey. He takes the easy one.
First of all, Mr. Dash, it is an honor to be here on the Dash Alert. I'd like to make a case for Corey JJ to be the runner-up for MVP. He's been hard carrying Team Liquid. The same way you'd put POB instead of CLG, you could put Corey JJ instead of Team Liquid. And hell, if they actually end up at the end of the regular season standings first, I think you could definitely see Corey JJ taking it over C9 because they're going down and they're going up.
You know who's my MVP candidate? It's Cloud9's jungler Blabber. The question is not which non-Cloud9 member is your MVP. It's who is now your Honda MVP frontrunner. My Honda MVP frontrunner is now Blabber on Cloud9. It is, at this time, still the MVP candidate. Let us not forget how much Cloud9 slapped everybody in the league the first 5 weeks. Sure, there have been some stubbles, 3 1-1 weeks, but guess what? They're going to 4-0 the end. They're destined for a head-to-head tiebreak with TL. If TL can even 4-0 themselves, by the way, we've seen them stumble as well. They lost to FLICKR 2 weeks ago. C9 are still going to win the split. It's still going to be Blabber, standing far above all other players in his role and statistics.
Tell me something I haven't heard all year long. That could have been from week 2. That could have been from week 1. But you guys just choosing the top 2 teams. How about you go with some of the more interesting picks, you know, make the argument of MVP, most valuable player to his team. It is Someday. Where would 100 Thieves be without Someday? They would be below Immortals. They would be dead last if they did not have Someday, okay? This guy is an MVP player because he makes the team, and they're starting to play around him too, so 100 Thieves on the upward trend now. You know, I like the Camille look, all these more aggressive side lane plays for him.
I have to admit, Freak is truly a gamer. He gamed the game itself and found a way to still answer Cloud9. So impressively done there, my friend. Next up,
and he answered Blabber like he did every question for last episode.
And somehow he keeps ending up with a heck of a lot of points, man. It seems to work. All right, well, in honor of the upcoming Yone and Yasuo combo, what 2-champion Wombo do you believe is the best in the game? Zyrakan is Freak's call. Yeah. Tell me.
I mean, it's actually obviously true. Like, listen, the data is already there. This is actually this isn't known, by the way. This is a provable answer.
How do you answer the most boring answer for every question? This is a combo that was made to be a combo.
Yeah, exactly. Wow,
that's no creativity.
Combos made to work together. The answer is the champions who are made to work together. It's almost like it was on purpose or something. Wow, how dare I answer correctly, Kobe, and you're mad that I'm just faster than you. You don't actually believe what you're saying. You're just mad that I'm quicker and smarter.
All right, now Kobe, get back
in there. The real answer is the one that shows player creativity, okay? It's bottom lane, Anivia and Poppy. This is a classic. It was even used in pro play, in a show match. You put up the wall, slam them into the wall. It's just beautiful. Plus, you have the possibility of carrying late game. You get the late game Anivia. Oh my goodness! Now that's just a match made in heaven.
All right, Crows, what are you thinking?
That's just not as creative as what the meta gives you right now. I love the Anivia Poppy, but there is one extra layer to it. Ornn Trundle. Both are meta champions right now, and it's the same thing. You have Ornn just charging in, Pillar pops right behind them, and suddenly you get knockups all the time. It takes skill, and your teammates won't flame you because they think you're actually tryharding with those picks.
That's what I like.
Actual answer.
I'm not worried
by the
about
way.
flame.
Jarvan Malzahar. You make the Doom Jacuzzi. The walls come up all around. You got the heat jet coming in. The ult comes in for the burn. You're stuck in the Doom Jacuzzi.
Excuse me, sir. You answered prematurely, but that means that is also your answer now for question number 7. So I want to see you make this one work, Freak. What champion skin, when locked by an enemy, worries you the most? Your answer, Malzahar and Jarvan. Please explain.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, if someone's got the skin where the Voidlings are actually Jarvans and they're summoning full champions 3 at a time in mid lane, I'm freaking terrified, Dash. That lane is not 1v1. That lane is suddenly 1v4. That's an FF at 15, my dude.
I actually love that. Now I'm imagining a Malzahar Jarvan skin, and it's just spawning a bunch of little Jarvans.
Or when Jarvan throws a flag, it's a whole Malzahar. The Malzahar fucking ults you. Like, how do you win when he just throws the E down, flag and drags
He
forward?
just does? James, you gotta take away points for that. They're gonna have to beat that in Kobe.
Hey, Kobe,
That's more work.
Are we a whole bunch of tattletales on this show? Excuse me, sir.
You know,
Excuse me, sir.
when I see an infringement, I gotta call it out, James. I'm just an honorable summoner over here. You know I'm honor level 5, right?
God, Kobe's honor 5. Kobe's honor 5, and we don't take anything away from honor 5. I don't know.
I am.
just assume he is.
I am.
Wow, nice.
Possibly believe Kobe was anything other than honor 5.
He plays a lot.
I'd like to give him points.
He's too
I'd like
nice
to give him
do.
some points for honor. Or for
Anyway,
calling out what needed to be called out. I want to do a little loan.
Every time, I think people say this and they expect me to not take points away from them or something, but every time.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Look, Dash, I would
I
like
know what
to
we're
take
gonna
some of
get
Kobe's points. Is that okay? Can I just have some of Kobe's points right now?
Sure. Here,
I think that would make the game really exciting.
You know what?
Kobe's points.
I'm happy to do it. I'll hand out to Freak because Freak always loses this show, and I won last time, so
let's
I
get him
really
some
don't
handouts.
need to win.
Give him some hand me out.
You can give him
Can we
300
just
more.
give him all
Give him 300
Give him
more.
all to Freak.
300 more?
You
Okay.
can take mine.
300 more.
You can take mine.
Anyway,
Yeah.
my answer for this question, James,
please,
is
please.
the Infernal Shen with the chroma that is kind of shiny and white because it's translucent and it's hard to see for me, okay? I know it's hard to see for other people because even people on that Shen's team are like, what? The Shen just ulted me? What is going on? And then sometimes they don't go in, but that is the most
Doesn't change the color of the shield.
It changes. You know how your screen changes color usually when you have Shen, and you hear the big woo. It changes that. So I think that's the big thing for me.
All right,
Okay.
Crumbs. Which
I got a good one here.
champion skin worries you the most when an enemy locks in?
Prestige Edition Kiana Louis Vuitton skin. Here's why. No one plays Kiana in the first place. So if you even see a Kiana and she's wearing that skin, you better run because this man has been playing that champion for a year and a half with no one else batting an eye at her, and she's going to be just stomping your team. You don't know what's going on. You don't remember where she dashes to and what the grass blades and water blades and all this crap is. So you're just thinking, I need to stay alive, and she's going to kill me in style. So that's the one that I'm most
You
scared
also
of.
know that player's got deep pockets, right? If they've got the designer LVP, yeah, exactly, skin. All right, well, that's the conclusion of Lane by Lane, and by some miracle, Freak has made it to the top of the board. Congratulations, my friend. By some uncontrollable outside force that nobody could have seen coming, Freak wonders the victory at the last moment. Sir, your reaction?
My reaction is I have a second answer to the previous question, which is the skin I'm most afraid of when locked in is the standard true damage Senna. Because I have a friend named Ted who plays Senna support, and he's so bad at it, we lose every time he plays the champion. So when I see true damage Senna on my team, I'm like, all right, it's over. We got no chance. He's not,
the question said enemy team in the question, Freak.
And when you watch him play, you might as well be an enemy team. That man has earned them 7,000 gold by 20 minutes, then it's over. So look, you can get rid of my points, doesn't matter. I've got the challenger border, no one else does. I'm gonna be an ungrateful.
He's already demoted.
I'm just
He's being
better at this game than the two of you.
It
doesn't surprise me really at all. I'm surprised also they're not muted. You know, like the peanut gallery is talking, and I just can't hear them from way up here. You know, it's like you guys are the LCS of casters, and up here being the LPL of casters. Like it's not close. Like I'm just so far above. Just send me your hate tweets. I just don't care. I mean, this is what it feels like to be the best, and
everyone.
it doesn't feel any different than the rest of the year. And now you sit silent for 5 seconds.
There it is. Freak reigns supreme in our most recent episode of Lane by Lane. That's going to bring us to the end of this one, but we got plenty of Friday Night League coming your way after the break, so stay tuned.
This is what League of Legends looks like! That's a big stun! That's a big engage! Oh! 80 minutes on the clock! 80 minutes to dream! Gonna be stunned up. Flash, and there's your first blood. Good lord, man! The dream is alive and well. The crowd erupts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friday Night League. You may have noticed that we're looking a little different than we normally do. We apologize for the changes, and thank you, everyone, for understanding.
Hey, I got some positive changes. I'm no longer cropped right here with the, white background. I have, things. There's depth to my room.
We both got plants in our corners.
Yeah, we have plants. They're living. I water them.
Know their names?
Who knew that all of this existed around all of you? But aside from the new surroundings for our analysts here on the desk, Friday Night League is pretty much looking the same because until we get into Game 1 at 6 o'clock, we will be pontificating on the playoff race and learning about Dig's own odyssey until we jump into the match between Team Liquid and Dignitas. But as the playoff race aforementioned heats up, it's important for us to look at the standings. Cloud9 and Team Liquid are tied at first after their bout last Sunday, with TSM in third and FlyQuest rounding out the top 4. Now, if we go to the bottom of the standings, we see that Dignitas is just one win away from the playoff cutoff, with Immortals sitting 2 games out of contention. And to give us a better look at how the 8-team playoff bracket will play out, here's Riv with a quick breakdown in Playoffs Oversimplified.
Hey everyone, with the regular split approaching its conclusion, I wanted to run you through what the summer postseason will look like in Playoffs Oversimplified. 8 teams seed into the battle for LCS champion, with the top 6 teams starting in the upper bracket and the final 2 teams starting in the lower bracket. The difference is simple. Lose in the upper bracket and you get one more shot in the lower bracket. Lose in the lower bracket and your playoff run ends. The first and second place teams get to rest easy in week 1, while the third through 6th place teams duke it out to kick things off. The first place team will get first pick at the winners from round 1, with the second place team getting the remaining victor. But the run isn't over for the losers of those matches. If you're a fan of, say, FlyQuest, and they fall short in round 1, they can still make a run through the lower bracket. Say they have to face Dignitas. They'll need to win 2 consecutive best-of-5s to compete at the lower bracket finals. Back at the upper bracket, week 2 wins mean you make Worlds. Win 1 more best-of-5 and you've got a one-way ticket to the finals, with the loser getting a shot at revenge if they win the championship qualifier versus the winner of the lower bracket finals. By the time we're at finals weekend, we'll have our 3 teams going to Worlds, with the winner of Saturday going to the title match where we crown the title of North American champion. And that's all you need to know for Playoffs Oversimplified.
Thanks, Riv, for making my brain a bit bigger with that. And with all of that new information in mind, I want to take a look at the remaining strength of schedule for these teams, because we have to set these expectations for the remaining games in the regular season.
Yeah, so this is going to show you 2 things. 1, beautiful graphic. I love the rainbow display.
So party.
The first column is the combined opponent wins, which means of your next 4 opponents, how many wins they have together. And that will give you, your average opponent's win percentage. Top in red is bad, scaling down to green and easy. So CLG has the hardest strength of schedule remaining. FlyQuest has the easiest.
It's going to be really tough for CLG coming up, because not only is their strength of schedule the toughest, they are on the cusp of losing playoffs, and the opposition, the teams that are potentially the ones to take that very coveted playoff spot, are on the up and up, whereas CLG has been having a lot of struggles, whether it's Pobelter, one-man army not strong enough to carry the rest of the team, or them just not being coordinated, like Wiggly jumping in there before the rest of the team is ready to follow up. However, the team has been improving a little bit. I think that from the really low lows that we've seen them have, their high highs are like, okay, there's something here. It's just that against their strength of schedule right now, which is going to be the #1 teams, the spring finalists, and Golden Guardians, who are really aggressive as well. So if anything, I think they might be able to sneak some wins against Golden Guardians and maybe FlyQuest if they catch him off guard. But Team Liquid and C9 feel really far away, and 2 wins is, I think, what gets them a tiebreaker maybe and keeps them in playoffs.
And they're 1-7 in their last 4 weeks. So they're really struggling. And like you're saying, they're going up against even harder competition now. So something needs to change for them to be able to hold on to their playoff spot.
I mean, that's not the only team. Like right next to CLG in terms of tough schedule is TSM. They're playing TL and C9 just like CLG, and they're the ones who are fighting for maybe a top 2 spot, but at the very least they want to be at the top of that little middle bracket they have. And honestly, TSM, I don't know if they're going to make it out of this. I mean, hopefully they can get at least 2 wins, but really this team, I'm just looking for them to find an identity, and I don't really care if they're playing around top, mid, or bot. Like, that's not really a big thing for me. Like, I just want them to be good at something, you know? Do laning really well, or team fight really well. At least have good drafts, like something that I can consistently see. Because so far it's just like, yeah, mid game's kind of messy. Sometimes they win early game, sometimes they win team fights, but like they don't do anything well every time, and that's something they need to figure out. Because we're in week 8, you're going into playoffs. You got to win the best of 5. You got to get consistent at something.
And the team nipping at their heels is FlyQuest, who has the easiest strength of schedule remaining if you saw that graphic. So TSM definitely have some things to worry about. I actually think C9 have some things to worry about as well. As weird as that kind of sounds to say from our most dominant team ever that we've been kind of hyping them up. In the second half of the split, they actually have a losing record. They have not been dominating the early game like before. They haven't been controlling objectives like before. They haven't been team fighting as well. They've actually been struggling a little bit in the second half of the split. And there is a lot of experimentation going on. You know, one of those losses was to TL. Some people had better games against them. But you can only kind of write that stuff off for so long. Their upcoming strength of schedule is not particularly difficult. So that's why I kind of want to see them return to form and absolutely blast these teams out of the water. These are all pretty winnable games. Obviously, when you're the best team in the league, that's expected. But I want to see some of that, first half of the split. I want to see some of that spring C9 come back and get some pep in their step heading into playoffs.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I totally agree, dude. Like, them getting better is going to look so much different because so far, once they're like kind of falling down, they've kind of become mortal and like teams aren't scared. I remember when we used to watch C9 and we go like, yeah, how do you beat this team? Like, what's the weakness? Like, do you like hope that they just make a mistake? Do you like team fight them? Like, you just would lose every time you try to like hypothetically beat them. But the way that they're playing now, it's like, yeah, they could probably just mess up draft and I'll just win a game. You know?
That was the strategy that I drew on spring. You guys remember how Reaper could lose potentially for FlyQuest, how FlyQuest had an opportunity if they entered the draft. If the experiment goes too far, that's the way that Cloud9 can actually continue to lose games in the back half. But there is a good experiment in the LCS that is not going in Cloud9's draft, though, and that is Dignitas, because Dig, while the strength of schedule does include Team Liquid and Cloud9, they've got 2 very winnable games in 100 Thieves and Immortals. They are nipping at CLG. They could potentially take that playoff spot. And this team's comeback, I think, has been particularly impressive in my eyes because they didn't replace the bottom lane, which has been really valuable for them, especially once Zafra came back to the playmaking supports. They have actually found their stride. It looks a lot better than before. They're making a lot of plays, and in due part to having Dardoch, who can be an aggressive jungler for this current meta, and Phoenix has actually been stepping up beyond the Azir, which is a really refreshing thing to see from where we started, which was the Twisted Fate that I'm going to keep bringing up because it's still burned in my eyes.
I gotta say too, while their strength of schedule for Dignitas looks hard because of like the numbers, a lot of that is because it's C9 and TL. The next other 2 games are actually pretty winnable for them, and it's better to have 2 pretty winnable games than 4 hard games. And so in that sense, I actually don't think their schedule is that bad for them to Crumb's this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. Dignitas might not be as ruby red as we saw CLG and TSM when looking at the strength of schedules, but they do still have a tough road ahead of them when trying to make their way into playoffs. We did get to hear some words from the team themselves, so let's hear what they had to say about the upcoming matches in their most recent episode of their docuseries, Odyssey.
2 weeks, it's going to be a lot of scrim blocks. We're doing night blocks too, so we definitely got to get these wins and make sure we make it into playoffs and then improve as much as we can, make sure we can get into Worlds.
We know we're better than the teams right now that we're competing with, like, 100 Thieves, Immortals. We know we're better than them. Obviously, we just have to show it, We have to play well. We really want to all make playoffs. I do think if we make playoffs, we can go a long way and we can prove people wrong that we're actually a pretty good team.
Team Liquid plays well. I think it's just going to be based around Josh snowballing and then us holding down bottom lane, which is usually their main lane they play off of, core JJ and tactical. So I have full confidence Johnson and I can do that. Other than that, Immortals, Xmithy is probably the only big issue. So we just got to make sure we play our game, play slow, make sure we play our jungle advantage because Josh always gets an advantage no matter what he's playing on. And just got to play through that stable game, I would say. Hopefully we can come out on top and everybody's working hard. We're doing night blocks, like I said, and just got to keep practicing. Meta's still changing. Patch comes in next week too, so got to keep on top of that.
For more Dignitas content, you can check them out on YouTube at youtube.com/DignitasGG. And now that we've heard Dignitas' thoughts, let's go ahead and look ahead at our matches for the night. Because beginning with Dignitas aiming to have an upset against first place Team Liquid in their bid to earn a spot in the postseason. Then we have Game 2, a potential playoff preview as Evil Geniuses face TSM. Now, after all is said and done today, make sure you tune in all week long because tomorrow the LCS Game Show takes over Countdown, where the on-air talent compete in a host of games. Then don't forget to tune in on Sunday, where LCS Bingo means you could win free skins. That's right. Watching Sunday could earn you a free Masterwork chest, so tune in for all the game show action. Before we get into what we have for our first game of the day, I do want to take a closer look at that second matchup because TSM are still within reach of a top 2 finish within the league, but they have to shore up on the consistency issues that they have been falling under during the summer split.
Yeah, I guess I was wrong when I was saying TSM's consistent, or not consistent, because they are consistently like messing up their mid-game calls, and they said it in interviews that it's communication issue, and there's just a whole bunch of opinions. And yeah, they say opinions are good, and I agree totally. But you need to be able to come to a conclusion where you guys have a team direction. If everyone's just yelling at each other, I think this and I think this, like you guys aren't gonna really get anywhere. So I really hope that these guys start listening to each other and can actually solve this problem because. Again, we're in week 8. We're going into playoffs. Can't go into a best of 5 if you guys like don't agree with how to play the game.
Yeah, I think the mistakes actually manifest in the game in somewhat noticeable ways around their mid-game shot calling. In this setup, the Cassio mirrors the Galio top because that was her lane opponent, but Cassio doesn't really enjoy being on side lanes, and so, they do a really good job, CLG, on collapsing and finding the Cassio on the side lane and picking her off. TSM adapts correctly and says, okay, let's put it versus the Gnar. Cassio versus Gnar is actually such a good matchup for Cassio that people have picked Cassio in the top lane to go against it. So TSM adapted to their, lane setups how they should have had them. But the downside is they kind of lose focus on what they want to do as a team, and Broken Blade gets picked off not long after, rotating down to join up with his team in the mid lane. So they need to clear up their calls a little bit more and make sure that they know their lane assignments, where they want to go, and how they move between in those rotations to make sure that they are closing out on their opponents.
It's really important because if you get caught out in one of those missed lane assignments against a team that is legitimately playing at the top of their game, a single one of those deaths can just lose you the game because you lose an objective and things start to snowball out of control. I think we were talking about it in a little bit earlier, how sometimes having too many voices that actually are English first language or are really fluent in English just gets to clutter the comms too much, whereas if you have somebody that's English second, they're just so precise and minimalistic in what they need to say that it's often a lot easier to hear.
At TSM trying to polish some of the communication, but for the side of EG, it's a whole different story. Currently, they would be seeded to be into the upper bracket, and it's more about refining this golden glue Huni combo, which a lot of people are looking at it as a coin flip trade, right? One player in for another when you compare it to Jizuke.
Yeah, but it's really interesting when you dig into Huni in his wins and his losses. It's a small sample size, I will admit, but it is a hilarious outcome. What's interesting is in the losses, his stats are actually way better when he's playing strong side, when he's playing the Camille, when he has higher jungle proximity and higher 4% and better goal difference. Those are the games that he actually end up losing a little bit because he gets too overeager and he tries to carry too hard. Whereas when he's on weak side GP and stuff like that, he actually is able to do a lot better. So it's kind of hilarious to see that the win stats are actually worse, but it is for in-game reasons as well.
Leaving Huni on an island does seem to pay off a lot of the time. At least when he was playing in Academy earlier this split, he was actually having some of his best games when he's just left completely alone and then has to group up and make an even more impactful play with the team.
Yeah, and I think it's something that he got brought in for was more his shot calling that they talked about. And I think with the stability coming in from mid lane, these kinds of things, I can see that Huni not being the complete focal point of the early game does benefit EG in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, they're both coin flip players for sure, Jizuke and Huni. But I got to say, like, Huni's kind of like pendulum of, carry or throw is like, it's not too bad. It's, just waving a bit. But you throw in like Jizuke, and Jizuke's pendulum is going like this. Like Spring Jizuke is all the way over here, like off camera. And then Summer Jizuke is like completely flatlined. So I understand, like, it's funny that they're swapping coin flip for coin flip, but there's definitely one that's less punishing.
I appreciate you using your space there, by the way. Yeah. Probably full effect.
Camera movements.
Good act there. Not only less punishing, but it's in a different role and one that demands more consistency from the mid lane. So yeah, Golden Glue is more stable than Jizuke, and Huni still remains a coin flip. But if you can put your coin flip player in the top lane, you can still play a pretty solid game of League of Legends, especially if you've got somebody playing a ton of the meta champions. Golden Glue Zoe, I think, looked a lot better than what it showed in spring. Those were the 2 wins, and his other champions are really meta. You've got the Galio, you've got the Orianna, so you know what you're getting out of the mid lane right now, and that is more to be said than what you had when you had Jizuke and Kumo in the lineup. So the fact that they can now play around mid lane, I think, is giving EG a foothold in the early to mid, where they can at least get to the point where now we can make a decision instead of just panicking from the beginning.
It's been really interesting seeing the changes to EG with the roster swaps, and we will get to game number 2 to wrap up the day. For now, we're stepping away, and as we do, let's go ahead and listen in on the voice comms for last week's Battle for First and Team Liquid versus Cloud9's mic check.
Yeah, C9 is actually ready this time.
I'm ready to fire. Bam! Give the order.
Let's no flash, by the way.
This one's not, yeah. I'm coming here, slowly.
Dead.
Good job. Nice job.
Okay.
Big. That's really good for bot. We get a previous.
Yeah.
Nice. Heh! Too good. I'm going mid here.
Yeah, look at me. Coming.
We're coming.
Yeah, I'm coming. 3, 2, 1.
It's interesting mid. It's fine. It's good fight.
Okay. I'm all blocked.
It's good fight.
Yeah, going.
I got ulted. I'm okay.
Yeah, we're on top of you.
I will block.
Ready to ult?
Yeah. They TP.
Ulting Nisky?
Just take group, brother. Catch to the left.
Hold this guy.
There's slow too. You ulted me?
Kill more.
Ball here. Careful hook. I'm probably dead, but it's okay, I think.
We can kill
Killing you. Ult him. I'm on tunnel over there. Chilling you.
Okay.
Guys, I'm on HP. I'm on.
Baron, by the way.
I got hooked. I'm fine.
Let's fight. You're multi. Yeah.
Flash?
Go over.
Yeah. He's dead. Okay.
Chase.
I'm always dead.
I'm multi-shen. No, I cannot. Here's your book. Okay.
We have hooks in or no?
Yeah, nice.
Pack him.
I can that. It's good. There is. Yeah.
We got
the hook. I can cancel. Yeah, nice.
Watch me.
Yeah. I can cancel. Check on that. I stand. Can look. You can hook the trade. They're looking.
I ult him. Set his shoulder.
I don't know. Set side. I'm looking with Shen.
Are they find the back here? Look here.
Looking that back, guys.
Oh, he didn't die.
Shen, no taunt. Kill it. Yeah, good trade.
I can keep going.
I'm dodging. Shen, he flash. No flash. Nice.
We're mid wave.
No flash. Let me go. Just fill up. Yeah. I'm looking now.
Still hack him.
Yeah. Okay. And then? That's it. Hit. 5 seconds. Only set no flash.
I don't have pillar. 3 seconds. We can
end. I think we can end, guys. Only next. Only next.
People in.
Only next.
Keep feeling.
Oh, we win. Guys. Nice.
Welcome back, everyone, to FNL. For those of you just joining us, don't be alarmed. Some cyber termites have temporarily kicked us out of the LCS Dome, and we appreciate your understanding as it gets fumigated. Now, we are turning to the new patch, and although our balance patches are designed with all players in mind, 10.15 has a lot of pro-focused nerfs and buffs for every lane. Let's start with things down in the bot lane.
Yeah, Caitlyn, she got buffed, and her buffs are so big we couldn't even fit it on a full screen. She got 2 whole AD and 5 whole movement speed. So these buffs are not insane, but when you think about the relative strength of the bot lane champions in the last few patches, Varus was a good matchup into her. He's gotten nerfed. Ashe has been a good matchup into her. She's gotten nerfed. Ezreal nerfed. Aphelios was even nerfed with his Runons, who was, again, would beat Caitlyn in lane and then obviously outscale. So now Caitlyn's starting to find a bit of a place in the meta where she's able to be that lane dominant and still able to scale. I don't know if we'll see her so soon because some of the prolific Caitlyn players will probably take a bit to pick her back up. But I'm pretty excited to see Aphelios start to leave the bot lane, Varus start to leave the bot lane, because it's going to be a lot more like champion variety in this new patch coming up.
The other thing to note, too, is that Caitlyn has like a 59% win rate in Challenger, like 57 plus in Master. So she's really strong in the bot lane. We'll see if teams start picking her up. Another person that caught my eye was Shen. He got a shield buff. It was 20 flat across all levels, basically. And that's huge because we were already starting to see Shen come back in the meta a little bit. Impact later. We also had the FLICKR game. And that helps your trades so much because you will get so many shields off over the course of the laning phase. Just 20 extra health on them every single time means that's a lot of damage negated. It's definitely not a minor buff, even though it might sound like it to some people. And this will make him even stronger in those melee matchups, which he was already good at punishing. Might not fly to the exact top of the list, but I still think we'll start seeing a lot more Shen as this meta develops.
I totally think we will, especially because he's got that global element to him, which so many teams are picking up, whether it's Pantheons, whether it's Gangplanks, but most importantly, the star of globals, Twisted Fate, has also received a nerf. His pick a card, the W, took a pretty strong hit at the early levels, so an extra 2 seconds. This is not only going to make his laning phase a lot weaker, whether it's spamming mana from the card, or even setting up for ganks, or even being ganked himself, because the cooldown will only start being leveled at level 8. It's a pretty significant nerf, and he's not building any CDR either, so you better watch out for Twisted Face because now only the best can really pull him off because you got to pull a gold card on that first rotation. Otherwise, you're only hitting 1 stun.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. It's going to be the good TF players are the only ones playing it because, yeah, you could beat TF with Poke or with Assassins, and, yeah, now TF can't spam red cards anymore, so he's not going to be able to outpush these pokers, and he's not going to be able to have stun every time an assassin wants to fight. So these counter picks are going to start coming out if people start playing TF. So I'm excited to see TF slightly move out because I was getting pretty tired of just him being the ban-hammered every game.
Yep. TF out a bit, hoping my boy Shen comes in a bit more. We've talked a lot about the playoff race today, but another race that is approaching its conclusion is the end of the split, right? We're here. We're talking about the Honda MVP. At first, there were a lot of different contenders and possibilities, but it's looking more like a 2-horse race right now between Cloud9's Blabber and then Team Liquid's Core JJ.
If it's a race, the first one to get a lead has been Blabber because he came out swinging in the beginning of summer. His Olaf games really influenced so much of the meta, whether it was other teams trying to pick him up or even other regions looking at it. Then the Lee Sin was styling all over teams, but he took a tip when Cloud9 started putting him more on the supportive style junglers, whether it's the Sets or the Trundles, and as a result, we really haven't seen him be that dominating jungler that he had at the start, but the early domination was so damn strong that he got so far ahead of the competition that everybody now is just catching up to him.
Tortoise in the hair, Crumbs. You know who the tortoise is? Core JJ, old man Core JJ, coming up clutch with Team Liquid. He has been the de facto contributor in their wins. He's so good. And they would not pick a lot of these up without his Bard and his playmaking, picking on Poom and other people, as well as having that Blitzcrank pick. I don't think there's another support in the league who would have gotten to Team Liquid to their current win record. And I think he has solidified a very strong resume to actually pick up his second MVP here in the back half of the split. It's still close between him and Blabber. I don't think it's made up at all. But Core JJ has definitely inserted himself into that conversation.
Yeah, and you have to think of like MVP is also like most valuable player like for that team. I mean, if Core JJ is not on Team Liquid, they're already our slowest team in the league. So imagine not having this big playmaker support who's pulling out the Blitz, pulling out the Thresh, and pulling out the Bard, and landing all these skill shots. Like, this team, like, we'd probably still be watching, like, their Week 3 matches right now. Like, it's so insane how fast Core JJ is able to make their wins go.
That actually makes Mark's tortoise and the hare comment even more relevant.
Well, Core JJ, he's not the only support player to have picked up an MVP title in the past. He's going against Afromu right now, who has also picked up the title and has been performing exceedingly well lately.
Yeah, Afromu's having a big comeback split. Remember, he debuted way back in 2013 off a role swap, and it was him and Xpecial kind of battling for the title of Best Support in NA, and he really grabbed that one in 2015 and 2016, picking up his wins with CLG. Then they go to MSI. He leads them to the greatest international performance from a North American team up until that point. He looks like a complete stud. Goes and ends up splitting away, joins 100 Thieves. That's where he picks up his MVP, leading them to first place in the regular season. And ever since then, it's actually been a bit of a downward slide for him until this split where he's starting to really look like he can potentially recapture some of that form.
We pose this question, can Afromu re-attain past glory? Probably you worked with him during what's considered one of his peaks. What do you make of his chances?
Yeah, no, he's climbing back up really well, and it's kind of funny because he's a support player who is always really excited about buffing up his teammates, so he actually really enjoys playing Enchanters and just making his AD carry the star, but his role on Dignitas is so important because he has to be the one to make these engages, so he's not really playing the Enchanters that much anymore. He's actually playing these hard engage, these, you know, Blitzcranks, these Threshes, making sure the plays happen, because without him, their team is, not finding these fights. So it's kind of like he has to battle with himself a bit. And I bet, being his coach right now is rough because, you want to make your player happy, but you're also more interested in winning. So you're like, all right, I know you like Enchanters, but we got to win. You're playing Blitz today.
Yeah, and when he's playing Blitz, it's been faring well for Dignitas, but you can't discount their opponents, Team Liquid, who have been making a great case for themselves to be the top team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Core JJ being huge. His lane mate is also someone who is benefiting a lot from this. Tactical has exceeded my expectations quite a bit this split. I don't think that they would be tied for first if he was at what I thought he would be playing at. He's way better than that. One of the top 80 carries. We have some power rankings coming out later this week, and I don't want to spoil where he is on those, but he's pretty high up, and I think he has been incredible both in lane and in team fights.
Yeah, I mean, talking about exceeding expectations, I had Jensen very low on my mid lane totem pole, and I was definitely proven wrong. So far, he's the highest XP difference and gold difference at 10 for any mid laners. I'd go ahead and argue he's our best mid laner right now and our best mid laner in team fights. And not just that, he's not just passively farming and scaling. He's actually making a lot of plays now. So I'm kind of excited to see this transition where he was just this mid laner I always thought was, never going to help his team and just, wants to play team fights. Nah, he's like actually helping his team more. He's actually engaging. He's taking risks using summoners. So I'm really excited to see how far he can go, especially in playoffs, because I think he shows up more in playoffs.
Yeah, those two players look real pretty revolving around their godson, Core JJ. There'd be nothing without him. Are you kidding me? Bard heals level 1 in mid lane. Come on, Jensen. Don't think he doesn't remember what he did and all the help to tactical. It's all Core JJ.
And Core JJ's been throwing those hooks up the mountain to try and bring them to the top. A lot of people looking at Jensen to perform here, but Dignitas are a formidable opponent for game number 1. Let's send things over to Pastry and Azael.
Thank you very much, Tigers, and welcome everybody to Week 8 of the LCS. My name is Julian Pastry Timecart, and I'm joined once again by Isaac Azael Cummings-Bentley. It is getting hot in here, I feel like, as far as playoffs go. 2 weeks to go, 4 games left for all these teams. Quite possibly a numerous amount of tiebreakers as well, and a whole different playoff format for the summer means that there is a lot on the line as we move very close to the postseason.
And there's a lot on line for pretty much everyone because there are 8 teams that actually go to playoffs. No one is fully eliminated from it or anything like that just yet. Everyone still has their shot. TL obviously looking for that #1 spot after they took down Cloud9 last week, making a pretty good case for themselves, sitting at 11-3. Dignitas has been good since swapping things around, or at least has significantly improved, but they had such a bad start with their 0-8 start that they're way behind the curve, right? So they really do need to pick up wins as often as they can. You know, they're 4-2 in their last 6, which is pretty damn good considering they started 0-8. So they're more of a threat, I think, in reality to Team Liquid than they look like on paper. But we'll have to see if they've improved enough to really be able to match up with some of the top teams.
Yeah, and it does feel like Dig, even this iteration, despite being more successful, has been pretty inconsistent as far as performances go. You can go from looking red hot and feeling like you can maybe beat any team in the league to just having a game where really things flounder and you don't do all that much, where it's been the opposite for Team Liquid. They have played their game all year, it feels like, and this is a team that's refining that style to first place. Like you mentioned, currently tied in first with Cloud9 at 11-3. A win here will at least temporarily put them in sole possession of first, but Phase 1 bans are almost done. 3 marksmen on the TL side and a 4th over on Dig. Ashe, Caitlyn, Graves, Kalista, Lee Sin with 1 more to come.
I actually really like the focus on the Dignitas bot lane. I do think that Johnson and Aframo have been the strongest part of this Dignitas team. You know, even during their 0-8 streak, Afro and Johnson were actually looking quite good for the team. Caitlyn did just recently get buffs. They talked about that in the analyst desk. Also, a lot of the other strong laning marksmen got nerfed. So Caitlyn really has risen in priority. Ashe was another strong laner. So they are banning out a lot of those for Johnson, trying to hold him down and maybe what is going to be more of a farm-style matchup.
Yep, Olaf the last ban there for Dig. So first pick Volibear over on the TL side. Despite some nerfs mostly to his ability to clear the jungle, still popping up in both top lane and jungle, so perfectly good pick there. We'll see what Dig want to select though, because all this focus on marksman, but no one wants to show their hand in bottom lane just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think TL was basically saying they weren't willing to actually first pick the Ashe or the Caitlyn, but they assumed Dignitas would be willing to first round them afterwards. So we'll see if they do want to go that direction. You know, Johnson has been incredibly flexible as far as the marksmen do go. He has played a lot of different picks, you know, 7 in total throughout this split. His most played by far is the Ashe, but he still has things that are unbanned, such as the Ezreal, the Aphelios, the Varus. He's played Kai'Sa, he's played Kog'Maw. So he does have some options there. As Set going to get locked in. This can be flexed, obviously, top or jungle. We have seen quite a bit of that. We've even seen it be played mid by Niski. We've seen it played support, but usually as a support, it's only played alongside the Kalista, so I am going to assume that this is probably jungle or top.
Yeah, I think Crumbs and I were talking about this in Academy yesterday. We think Set has been played in every role in Pro. At least somewhere around the world, he has made his way into all 5 roles. So certainly a flexible champion, but as you mentioned, in those positions you said right now. Ezreal is going to go back. This is a champion we've seen all split long, but Tactile going to fall back to a very comfortable pick for him. And Jensen at LeBlanc, always a treat to get.
Yeah, pretty aggressive pick here for Jensen. Into the Azir, we'll see if he can punish it. Jensen has been playing, you know, a lot more of the scalers himself. His most played throughout this split has been the Azir by quite a lot. TF was his next most played, which did take some significant nerfs. You know, notably, Phoenix's Azir is his best champion, has been his best champion for really a long time, people will say. So we'll see how well he can perform on that. And Kai'Sa as the option for Johnson, which I do like. I do tend to think that a lot of the Ezreal lanes end up being fairly defensive. And if the Ezreal does want to play it defensively, and you can pick something that outscales Ezreal as far as the team fighting goes later on, that can be a really effective option there.
Have to agree, as we're in phase 2 of bans now, Dignitas going to go ahead and take off Tahm Kench, wanting to keep the real defensive Ezreal lane out of the bottom lane.
Yeah, going to be able to take that away, and it's also something that allows TL to play more towards side lanes if they're worried about Tahm Kench coming in, you know, disrupting some plan that they may have later on. This could be signifying that, you know, Dardoch is actually going to take the set and they want to pick something for Viper that allows him to go more to the side lanes. You know, Jace notably is still unbanned, so if they wanted to look for something like that, Riven would have been another option that TL has now banned away. So I do think that with the Tahm Kench ban, you're tipping your hand a bit in that you either want some sort of engaged support that Tahm Kench would protect you from, or you're playing the side lane. So we'll see what Team Liquid is really going to infer from that.
And there's the Jace ban. Good read there from Azael, as that one will be taken off the board as well. That just leaves TL with one more ban here in this draft before they pass the pick over to Dignitas. So we see how they want to finish off their comp, or at least one of the last 2 picks they'll need to take here.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to throw another ban towards to top lane. You know, I do think that with the Jace getting banned out, Viper may be looking to go more heavily towards that top lane. Kennen, another pick here that Viper has favored in the past. He has played it in Academy. I don't actually think he's brought it out yet. He hasn't brought it out at all in the LCS, so this is more a nod to his performance in Academy on that pick. But quite a bit of top lane attention here, and they will either have to show us their top laner, you know, kind of confirm that it is going to be a jungle set, or maybe go towards support. Renekton is more of just kind of like the generic, this is a pretty good pick. It does allow you to set up well for ganks. This confirms that it is set, and it's also them saving Aphromu's pick here for last. So they are going to try to pick to get an advantageous bot lane, you would expect, whether that's Aphromu going towards a range support, which is becoming, you know, pretty popular these days. A lot more enchanters are in the meta. Things like Bard are pretty good, and notably, Spell Thieves did get buffed to have a lot more mana regen on 10-15. The base mana regen, you know, went up to 50% from 25, trying to encourage more people to go towards that instead of just playing Relic Shield, as pretty much everyone was. But Impact grabbing Shen here, I think, is really strong. Shen is honestly a totally fine matchup into the Renekton. It's pretty difficult for Renekton to absolutely run over this matchup, and once you get up towards Sunfire Cave, Shen is going to become, you know, very sturdy in this and allow TL to play aggressively through the LeBlanc. You can set up for 1-3-1. Have Jensen out from the side lane or looking for picks and dives down towards the bottom lane. Shen is going to be there with the ultimate to actually back him up and to allow Jensen to get more aggressive, as this does really feel like a draft that they either want to move Jensen out of mid lane and dive bot, or just generally play around Jensen.
Yeah, and the Braum actually the selection after seemingly much consideration for Core JJ, but that is the pick he'll go for here. Calm has also been very popular as far as enchanters go, but Rakan instead here for Afro, who we've heard many times. Everyone loves to see him on the playmakers, and there's good reason for that. Both these supports are actually extremely good when they're on more proactive support, so despite their skill on other classes of support as well, they have been a lot of the driving force for both these teams getting work done, especially in the mid game. So love to see this kind of matchup here, especially if they're both going to bring Ignite to the table.
Yeah, it is very interesting to see Aphromu actually going towards the Rakan. I've got to say I'm a little bit surprised. I do think that, you know, there's pretty evasive carries here. It's not necessarily going to be a guaranteed engage on the Ezreal or the LeBlanc. You know, maybe just feeling like they need that hard engage to really be able to get up on top of them, and then feeling like they can layer crowd control thereafter. They are really drafting pretty heavily for a bit of a dive comp here. You have Renekton and Set. They're going to be looking for flanks. You send in that Rakan to actually knock up and apply Plasma for the Kai'Sa, who can then follow up and create this sort of, you know, full-on dive. It is going to make their lane, I think, pretty weak, though. Kai'Sa Rakan, not exactly a strong 2v2, and it does mean that, you know, they don't really have much appeal either, actually, for the Kai'Sa, who could potentially be in some trouble come teamfight time.
Yep, especially if LeBlanc is maybe going to get out of hand here. Jensen, as you said, has been playing a lot of control mages this year, but particularly this split. LeBlanc is a champion that can get a lot of leverage against Azir, but you tend to need your jungler to come and assist you in that pressure. So Broxah has been much more defensive than I was expecting him to. This is a jungler that was extremely hyped, like very aggressive, known for his Lee Sin especially. Certainly has been more on utility picks, more tanky jungler champions. So even on something like the Volibear, certainly more chances with Jensen's LeBlanc to maybe open up the game and become that mid-jungle duo that at least I dreamed of Azale when they were paired together in the league.
I mean, that's really what everyone was talking about when Broxah first, you know, was arriving in NA in spring. Everyone's like, okay, this is signifying, you know, you no longer want to play that slower style that maybe Xmithie was bringing to the table. You're now looking to really get aggressive and slam the early 2v2 and snowball the game. And mostly what we've just gotten is Broxah warding and farming a lot. And, you know, his notable games have honestly been more for the blunders than they have been for the big carry performances. You know, him getting Flame Horizon by closer, you know, some of his kind of more questionable ganks that led to him getting punished in bad matchups. Things like that is more unfortunately what has stood out from Broxah to me. You know, he hasn't been bad, but he definitely hasn't been the dominant force that I think a lot of people, myself included, were really expecting him to be coming into Team Liquid.
Well, it certainly hasn't hurt them too much. TL still looked very good so far this season. Is going to start on red here with assistance from Tactical and Core JJ. Dardoch alone in the jungle on the same side, so they will be jungling towards opposite sides of the map. And already Impact is getting the slaps happening. As you said, Shen, surprisingly good in more matchups than you might think. And Impact knows his way around this champion.
And also, it got buffed, and it's actually a really significant buff. The passive shield is 20 higher at level 1, which is actually very, very big. And especially if you can actually get the pull-through on the Keyblade with your Q, you get the bonus attack speed as well as percentage health damage there. And the trades become very, very powerful. And generally what Shen is looking for in these types of melee matchups is to stack up, get your grasp ready for your first auto, and then look for these trades where you can potentially proc the grasp at the start and the end of that trade.
Yep, nice little trade there. Just missed the taunt, I believe, but still got in range to proc the grasp and get the pull through on the Q. Impact is just straight zoning this Croc right now on the Shen.
Yeah, I mean, the level 1 is just so strong for Shen now, with both the Q as well as the buff actually to the shield. So, you know, Viper perhaps underestimating that a bit. Not too big of a deal, though. He does have some sustain on this Renekton, so, you know, we'll be able to be in an okay spot, and it's not like he's even had his potion forced or anything like that. You know, but Shen holding his own against the Renekton is just extremely valuable because this is a champion that plays so well into the mid and late game. The ultimate has so much use when you are playing a champion that wants to go heavily through the side lane like LeBlanc. And also just the parry zone is so incredibly powerful when you have a lot of champions that, you know, are fairly auto attack based.
Mid lane already, Phoenix going to be forced to flash, the chain's going to land, the stun's going to go in, and that's first blood! We asked for it and we received. Jensen's going to nab it.
Nicely done by Jensen. A lot of patience there shown by him to actually hold onto the chains, you know, while Phoenix was in those minions, and then until he flashed out, he lands the chains, and that was always going to secure that kill. Broxa and Jensen pairing up for an early gank onto Phoenix, and not only did they kill him, they got his flash too, which means he's going to be a lot more vulnerable. And I'm not sure if he actually just didn't have a soldier available, you know, to kind of jump backwards, or if he had already used that and we missed that. But either way, surprising that gank actually worked so well, despite Phoenix blowing his flash.
Yeah, TP'd back, so Phoenix will maintain some initiative here in the lane, but is obviously going to feel pretty unsafe, especially if a regank is possible. Impact dashing out of the way of Viper, suspects that Dardoch is here, and we can see that he certainly is.
Yep.
So gets the pull through there, procs the grasp, and Dardoch is maybe thinking about sticking around, but the wave is not pushing in the right direction. He's going to sneak into this top rush instead.
But with how big the wave is, they could actually potentially dive him. So that's kind of the danger here now is, you know, are they going to dive? But really what Dardoch wanted to do is just make sure that Viper could actually safely push out. They didn't know where Broxa was, so this gives him the cover to do that. And we did get to see kind of this little mini-game showcase between those two champions. You know, when Viper jumps forward as the Shen, you are trying to predict when Renekton is going to use his stun. And you're going to try to use your parry zone to actually, you know, stop that stun from coming through, because it can actually block it and use the cooldown. But Viper held on to it, and then that is why you see Impact then having to taunt backwards to escape from the stun that is going to come out as soon as that parry zone does end. So it's a lot of prediction and anticipation on when your opponent is going to use the parry zone, when your opponent is going to use the stun. And whoever comes out on top in that little guessing game often is going to be who wins the trades.
Broxa back here again. I've seen this play already, haven't I? Dardoch also here, though, so it's going to be a 2v2 instead. Jensen lining it up. They know, though, Electrocute procced, and Broxa immediately going to run out. So Dardoch forced to come back in pretty quickly, but no one really takes too much damage on either side.
Yeah, nicely done by Dardoch. Right place, right time, twice in a row, kind of just guiding in his solo laner's waves. But because he has spent time, you know, shadowing his laners, Broxa was actually just farming during a lot of that time. And you can see that Broxa not only has the potential gank that he did pull off mid lane, you know, went for another one here, but he's still up quite a bit of farm. Yes, there are more minions on the map for Dardoch to pick up, so we can close that gap a little bit, but jungling is so much about how you actually spend your time, right? You know, is it really efficient? Are you spending too long in your ganks? Are you spending too much time farming when you need to be protecting your lanes? And thus far, Brox is doing a much better job of actually managing that.
Yep, and in mid lane, we can see Jensen actually still hasn't based yet, so the advantage he got from that first blood hasn't even materialized, and he's still currently up 10 CS as he's looking to push this wave in and probably go home for a shop here. Phoenix will be able to play catch up. That looks like about 10 minions to me, as Phoenix is going to go ahead and clear that out. But gold-wise, you can see Jensen actually up about 600 or 700 gold, so now that he's gone back and bought this Lost Chapter and this Dark Seal, can certainly make the lane a lot better for him. As TL also going to start this dragon as Jensen's going to TP back in to help.
Yeah, they could go for the steal, but this is way too risky for Dignitas. I don't think they should even try with Jensen actually TPing over to that. So that's really nice timing. You know, get that good base ready for Jensen. Use him to TP to actually protect that dragon take. They can see Phoenix is on minions in mid lane, doesn't have his TP to respond. Shen is also 6, so that would be even more dangerous to go for.
Speaking of 6, Viper going to pop the ulti. Dominus onto Impact, trying to get the 1v1 kill. Steal hit a shield. Impact getting low. But Viper not going to flash for it. Didn't have a follow-up stun, and Impact just staying firm in the lane.
Yeah, Impact there, you know, when you taunt forward and you actually don't get that parry onto the stun, as he didn't in that case, then Renekton can look for an all-in, and that's exactly what happened there. He taunts forward, you now have no escape, you don't land the parry on the stun, and Renekton can just pop the ultimate and go aggressive. So Viper taking a very nice trade there. It does cost him the ult, though. So because Impact didn't end up going down and had his potion charges, he's really not in that bad of a spot whatsoever.
Dardak isn't 6, but Afram is here as well. Jensen going to go forward, but again, back to the distortion. A chain being eaten there by Phoenix is bad news on that trade, and unfortunately for him, Afram is now going to have to show himself in mid lane, because there's no way they're ganking this LeBlanc right now.
And the sad part about it is when your mid laner is losing like this and isn't in a matchup where you can actually go for a lot of ganks yourself because LeBlanc is so evasive, Dardoch is having to spend all this time around mid lane just to protect Phoenix from a potential gank. Not even really for an opportunity to get a kill themselves. You know, it's a lot of an investment there for not that much reward, because the reward is just your mid laner not dying. He's still losing. He's still down a lot of farm. But he's based on a non-cannon wave, so he's going to lose all of those minions to the turret very likely, and you know, be down almost 20 CS after this blue buff goes to Jensen.
Yeah, I actually love the choice Jensen made there. He held the wave, which he's been doing the whole time, just so he can open up space to harass this Azir, because Phoenix now has his flashback up, but he knows he didn't have TP. But as soon as he sees him leave, he just insta-ults the wave with the upgraded distortion, clears it, and then denies all those farm off. So Jensen, it's funny that we like almost complained about, like, man, Brox is not the player we've been. Like, Jensen's been like so much more controlled and like more defensive as a player, but you know, wanted a bit more vintage play from these two, and certainly Jensen's playing a little bit more like his old self this game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Jensen has been incredible this whole split. You know?
Correct.
I'm definitely not trying to say that Jensen was bad by any means. He's just been favoring the control mages. Even on those control mages, he has been very lane dominant. You know, more for me, it was not even that Brox is playing bad, but just that Brox is playing very different than what I was expecting, you know, because I was expecting kind of the crazy early game guy who was going to snowball, as he did a lot on Fnatic, you know, was really known for being effective with their early game, and we got more of kind of that control style warding, playing for objectives, that it's been very effective for TL because they do have great late game carries, and you know, I think that's kind of more the style that they're comfortable with. That's the style that they won really all their championships with, was playing for mid and late game team fights and snowballing objectives, so it's more the kind of tried and true style that they know.
Well, Brox are going to continue finding advantages here for TL. They're up almost 2,000 gold as the Rift Child's going to be taken there by Brox. I have a suspicious feeling that turret plates are going to head Jensen's way in just a few minutes, but we'll have to see as Phoenix continuing to get harassed here by this LeBlanc. You can see the CS difference. Now this is starting to really hurt. That's 25 between the two mid laners right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal, and the fact that Jensen has, you know, that early Lost Chapter. Lost Chapter is better, generally speaking, the earlier you get it because of that passive. You get all the mana back every time you level up, and obviously early in the game, you're leveling up more often. So it pretty much means you can always just spam out spells non-stop. And it's always going to feel, honestly, extra bad. It feels terrible anytime you miss cannon, but it feels even worse when you're already behind, as Phoenix, you know, missed an uncontested cannon there to the tower. So he's set pretty back. You know, Jensen is going to have his Luden's buy very early on. You know, he already has the components plus the Sork boots, and Phoenix is kind of set on more of this defensive path with just a lot of these early game laning items because he didn't have enough gold to really go for a big piece.
This seems very dangerous for Phoenix. Jensen doesn't know where the jungler is, so he's going to go in now, looking for the chain, doesn't find it, just out of range as he goes back to his distortion. Other than that, though, mid-jungle certainly looking good for TL right now. It feels like that's where the bulk of their advantage is currently rested. Otherwise, bottom lane going fine for Dig. I think Tactical and Johnson have mostly just been trading farm. And same in the top lane, just been trading farm there as Impact and Viper. Probably more concerned about their impact in the upcoming team fights as Dragon is spawning in 20 seconds. Jensen continuing to harass this Azir, though, despite the blue buff for Phoenix. He cannot
shirk the LeBlanc from getting on top of him. As Dardoch, ooh, got a chilling spite Nimbus cloak trade.
Yeah, just the chilling spike goes down for Boxa, so Dark just uses his to back it up. There it is. The stun is used after that parry zone, so Viper just popping ult, trying to get aggressive, but wasn't sure if he could actually chase into that river. Didn't necessarily know where some of those TL members were. Viper's just trying to get this pushed out because I think he may have Cleaver gold ready. Could be looking to go for a reset, but doesn't feel like they're actually in a position to challenge the Dragon whatsoever. So Dignitas is going to be sitting back and looking to scale once again. And I will say that in the games recently where Dignitas has looked bad, it's often games like this where they just don't contest anything and then they eventually lose. You know, they were really highly criticized for the Kog'Maw game. You know, that was a game that I cast and was really disappointed watching them, how they were kind of just willing to give up everything. It's not at that point yet, but it is starting to feel like it a little bit. You know, they've given up 2 uncontested Dragons. They've given up the Rift Herald. Yes, you have really good scaling with the Azir and the Kai'Sa, but if you lose full control of the map, you start getting too far down in gold and objectives that your scaling doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, because you just can't find any position to find a fight as Brox are going to go down bottom lane. I was wrong about the plate collection, but it is going to happen still. Break out the dinner set as Brox are going to chain the Herald there into the bottom lane and look to knock it down. It's getting close.
It's gone. Pretty much. I mean, it's going to be low enough, I think. It's about 2.5. Oh, not quite.
Good enough, we'll call it there, as Fuji's going to push the wave in. Hey, they still got the gold. That's all the Tactical cares about, as Brox is going to go back to base after picking up the Cloud Drake and donating some money to the bottom half of the map using that Herald. Good times all around on TL right now, feeling very comfy in this sort of spot.
They are for sure. I will say that again, you know, Johnson and Aftermove have laned pretty well. You know, both these lanes are honestly fairly weak. But anytime I think you're playing Kai'Sa and you are up in farm in lane, you are feeling pretty damn happy. You know, it is 11 CS, so not insignificant. You know, some of that will even out here, but they've had the same amount of minions to farm, and he's almost up 2 waves, so pretty well done there by Johnson and Aframu. And we'll see exactly how he can perform, you know, going forward, because I think a lot of the pressure is going to be on him. Phoenix has been targeted very heavily, so Phoenix is actually pretty far behind the curve as to where he would want to be at this point. And that means that Johnson's going to have to do some more of this heavy lifting. And he's already stacking up the Roman mana. He's working towards that Rage Blade. And on those 2 items, he is going to be very strong. But Tactical will get to his 2 items faster. He has the Cull that can still cash out. And that's going to put him, you know, at a really, really strong point in the game.
Let's finish the Manamune now. They're just waiting to stack up for the transform. Impact and Viper continuing to duel here in the top lane, but with the Tiamat and the Jarum's Fist, Impact is just fine navigating these matchups, as there we go. That's the work that Broxer did earlier with the Rift Herald, as Tactical will pick up the first tower gold for himself, just missing that final plate, but not a big deal here for TL as they look to set up once again Vision deep into the enemy blue side jungle.
Yeah, the gold is really getting concerning for me now. You know, I do think because Dignitas, you know, is kind of giving up a lot, they're starting to bleed out quite a bit of gold. Now the Rift Herald's cashed in 4K this early. This really is just starting to feel like that game where they played Kog'Maw, kind of did nothing the whole game and then lost, as we're going to watch Viper die up here.
Yep, tower dive incoming. Does have his flash, pops the ulti as well. Jensen going to miss the first distort, but the backup one is more than enough as Dardoch going to chase up here, but nothing to really play for. Just slaps him in the face and watches TL hit recall.
Yeah, it's getting a bit rough.
Yeah,
for Dignitas. You know, this was the game that they played against the Golden Guardians, right? Where they went Cog Lulu. And they had, you know, this losing lane on the top side and whatnot. As we have a TP coming in here from Impact, we'll see if he can actually outplay the ultimate from Johnson.
It's a solo play from Impact. You already forced out the heal. Oh, Johnson gets out.
Yeah, well done by Johnson. Does escape, so TP down for Impact, but Impact still has the Shen ultimate, so they can continue to make these plays happen cross-map. 5,000 gold at 15 minutes, and you have to fight for the next objectives. It's not like you took the early game Dragons and then can kind of chill a little bit while you get your scaling advantage. Like, I just don't see how they could ever possibly win the next Dragon fight, and then you're at Soul Point, and it's just the Golden Guardians game all over again, where you do nothing the whole game, can't contest, and the game's over before you ever actually fight. And that's exactly where it feels like we're heading in this Dignitas game, unfortunately for them once again.
Yep, certainly tricky, but we'll look at Dardoch and Aframu to get things going, because the pick is certainly a way that you can find yourselves a team fight win, because it's much easier to win 5v4 than it is 5v5 in this kind of situation.
That is true. But look at the items on mid and bot, right? Like, that's the problem, is it's like, sweet, you're going for these engages. You don't even have your first item completion for Phoenix. The 2 items already come through for Ezreal. Yes, it is a cheaper build, so it's always going to be faster, but you're down 5,000 gold, and now you're going to give up another Rift Herald. Both the outers are already down in mid and bot. The top outer is undefended, so that's probably dead here too. Like, they're just not contesting anything. You just don't win the game by playing like this, and it's honestly kind of shocking to watch Dignitas do it after they did it last week and lost. Yes, they are set up around that dragon, but Jensen's going to get this for free, has his teleport, so he can join. And you're down 6,000 gold, essentially, here. How do you actually propose you're going to win the team fight?
Oh, perhaps we'll find out. TL are going to move in onto the objective.
Give it up.
Yeah, looks like with the recall timings, we can see... Oh, Johnson already poked out as well by Ezreal. That is rough times in mid lane.
Yeah. This game is over. Unlucky for Dignitas here. This is the same thing. It's a repeat of last week, unfortunately.
Ooh, solo kill?
Yeah, maybe.
Looking like one. Chain lands. Executes. Oh, Jensen! He's so good at League of Legends. Take it all back. Phoenix lives. Nice flash.
Yeah, Jensen actually flashed there too. Bit of miscommunication because Impact was coming in, so he could have actually stayed forward and got that kill. Either way, they took down the mid lane tier 2. They got the 3rd dragon. They're stealing away the red buff. Dignitas has really given up any chance, I think, that they had of kind of taking this game. You know, they're now dependent upon TL misplays. You know, they can no longer rely on their own good play, I think, to win this game. I think you're simply too far behind this early.
And again,
they put themselves in this spot.
Yeah, and again, TL, I think one of their biggest strengths as a team, this has been true across iterations of this 4-time winning championship team, is that their consistency is very difficult to replicate. This is a team that, yes, while they might play, you know, a little too slowly for some people's taste, myself included, because I love high-octane, overly bloody League of Legends, because honestly that's what I was raised on. But TL are just so good at not giving away advantages, especially when they're ahead. I would guess, like, if you look at the lifetime of teams that have played in the LCS, that TL's like rate of converting their leads would be some absurd number, because they're just so methodical and clean about how they approach this kind of situation. And it's even harder with this comp, because you're getting split by Shen and LeBlanc, you're already behind, and then either of those champions can join for any of the engages that might break out across the map, and you have no map control, of course, because you don't have a tower taking it. It is just, like, it is challenging.
I mean, they're getting perfect games.
Yes, that's true,
like,
actually.
This is
now that you mention it,
it's just really sad to watch. Dignitas does have some really good games, and then they have games like this where I'm just like, I don't honestly couldn't say what their thought process is on how they're going to win this game, because I don't actually believe that there is one. To me, when I watch a game like this just reeks of indecision. This reeks of not being able to actually decide on a path forward in the game. So you're all kind of just arguing on what to do, and nothing gets decided, right? Because that's how you end up in a situation where you're down almost 7,000 gold, you're getting perfect gamed at 20 minutes, and you haven't even tried to play yet. It's not as though they've tried a lot of stuff and it's failed. They, you know, are just giving everything to TL. And to your whole point about, you know, TL being one of the best teams ever and actually closing out games with the lead, I agree, which makes this strategy even worse against TL, right? You're putting them completely in their comfort zone. So it's just kind of bewildering to watch Dignitas play it out like this. You know, you're at Soul Point. You have lost 5 towers. You have 0 map control. Like, their furthest ward is not even really all the way in their jungle. It's in the brush outside their base. That's the extent of their vision. How are you ever going to be able to move to even contest the next dragon without just inting? Like, and if it feels like the next fight is just them walking to Soul, getting aced, and then that's it.
I mean, like, that last vision ward is also under threat of being killed as well. TL are closing in on Dignitas here. As KodoJ is going to spot Dardoch there with the Winter's Bite. Impact Shen also, I mean, we could talk at length about how good Brox and Jensen have been this game in opening up this lead, but Shen being back in the meta is like music to Impact's ears, I'm sure. He's mastery on this champion, and its synergy with the style of League of Legends that TL want to play is just like a match made in heaven. Like, they already want to play this kind of game where they can just very methodically close it out and split the map. And Impact, like, when Shen is good in the meta, can at least go even in most of the lanes he's in. And he's just so good with playing with his trading and utility. Like, so this is a pick that I will start watching now for TL, because he already played it once before the buff happened. He was the only other player besides FLICKR that played it before this patch 10.15. And it's one of those things where when I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like Impact could play that champion. That seems problematic.
That game. He went 7-0, and it was that game against CLG where he absolutely ran over Deus, I believe, on his substitution debut. I just think Impact is great on champions where it was against Ornn, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
But he's great on champions where he doesn't have a lot of pressure in the early game, you know, where he can play side lanes. He's really good at his map play. That's always been something where he really excels. It's a reason why he's great on GP. It's a reason why he's great on Shen, because he doesn't have to dominate early to have an incredible amount of use for the team later on, right? He can play a matchup even. He can withstand pressure. He can then take control of the side lanes, and he has such a good understanding of where to be on the map and how to exert a lead, how to, you know, circumvent the opponent's advantages. We do have Dignitas at least setting up now for this dragon. There is also the option for TL of actually just saying, all right, you have to go to the dragon or we get soul, and then just giving up one dragon and taking the Baron. So, you know, that gets risky now too, because we are post 20 minutes. Dignitas has kind of shown us that this is where they're going to make their stand, and this is going to be the make or break fight. They are down massively, but if they lose this fight, the game is absolutely, completely over.
Yeah, I mean, this play is forced, but Dig know that this is where they have to try and make a play. Brox are going to be targeted there by Dardoch, but Dardoch probably doesn't want to ulti the Volibear right now. Needs to get towards the pit, though, because there will be a contest for this dragon. Afro going to pop the ulti, finds the charm onto 2. They'll dive in the backside there, but CoreJJ going to disengage with the ulti, and Dignitas must turn tail and run. Impact, ulti's in, finds the taunt. Tactical is going to take down Phoenix, and this is going to be an absolute slaughter as they are. Impact chasing down Johnson, CoreJJ slays Dardoch, Renekton dies, Afro dies as Impact lands a max range taunt and make it 4 kills for TL as they charge towards Dig's Nexus.
All right, Dignitas, time to get out the game. You've lost. They are going to get perfect gamed here, I think, unless TL decides that they want to, you know, give them some pity kills by the Nexus or something. But this is Soul. You know, that was your last stand. A 0-for-4 fight where you give up the Soul and you're probably going to lose some towers around here as well.
Oh, that's gross. Jensen's in there. Impact with the taunt to set it all up. And the emotes fly wild as that is the delayed ace for Team Liquid.
I'm just so disappointed, honestly, in Dignitas. I was disappointed with their last game where they played like this. I'm even more disappointed by this one. Dignitas has got to wake up. This is a team that has a chance to make playoffs, has a chance to catch someone like CLG. You are not going to do it playing League of Legends like this, because this is just awful.
And it's tough to blame you for feeling that way, but I think we can at least celebrate how good Team Liquid have looked this game. It was be the second perfect game of the split, as they're going to take Baron as well, just because, you know, might as well get your bonus prize at the end of it all. TL just going to take everything off the map. Dig, again, must find a multitude of miracles at this point in their base.
I mean, at this point, you're hoping for some disconnects. I think that's the strategy. Here it is. I mean, Afro finds a decent engage here. Does catch Tactical. The charm, you know, did land, but Tactical did buffer his E, and then the flash plus the Shen ultimate. It's not as though he was very close to actually going down. Tactical still remains at pretty much full health, and this is just the power of the gold lead. You are so enormously behind, despite the fact, you know, that stun lands on Tactical, both from Viper and Dardoch. You know, he is stacked on by the melee, but he's tanky enough at this point that it just doesn't matter. He was never really under threat, so TL, they get engaged on, they win the fight, and they are looking to close out this perfect game. Nearly 13,000 gold ahead here now at 25 minutes. They have that Mountain Soul as well.
All right,
With
Impact.
all the damage he doesn't
Is he going to be the only one to give a kill over? Taunts onto Phoenix. The TP's coming in. Jensen wants to save his buddy as the rest of TL are reinforcing. This looks awfully tricky for Dig.
They got him to 90%. Let's go.
And Jensen's going to take somebody out here. I feel like there's the Stormbringer. Going to disable the Sun Turret. Dardoch gets the face breaker there. And now going to dunk them back into the Team Viper. Tactical's cut off Viper. Jensen is just destroying people with his assortions. Broxer is low. There's the double kill out of the LeBlanc. Going to make it a few more. That's a quadra kill. And Tactical, he steals the Penta as TL find back-to-back aces to end the game.
Scumbag Tactical takes away the Penta, but TL crushed this one start to finish. A flawless game as they push in, and they will complete the perfect game here over Dignitas. Absolute domination. Dignitas never stood a chance.
The second of the season, 25 stacks in Jensen's book, and another victory for Team Liquid as they will take sole possession of first place for now, because this Nexus is gone. Don't do it. Don't do it to me. Don't throw your life into the fountain. Don't throw the game away! Impact! Oh!
Oh, no.
How dare you!
I love how the player cams is sticking on Impact there, too. Oh, man, that's funny. All right, well.
All right, so only one perfect game this season. At least we could take that away.
Yep, they did get that. So they get the moral victory. Phoenix scooping Impact into the fountain there. At least they don't get perfect gamed, I guess. But Dignitas have got to go back to the drawing board. I mean, we saw the kind of little excerpt in the countdown from Afromove, from the Dignitas content, talking about how hard they're working, how they're going for 9 scrim blocks, in these final weeks, that they are, really grinding to show how good they are, that they feel that they're better than the teams that are around them in the standings. But this just is not it. You need to be more decisive if you're playing League of Legends professionally. You have got to try to make your stand. You can't just play to not lose, and that is exactly what we saw here from Dignitas, where every fight that it felt like, Team Liquid was pushing for a tower, or pushing for a dragon, pushing for anything, Dignitas just says, oh, well, we don't have the perfect position. We have to back off. The perfect position is not going to show itself when you don't challenge anything, because you'll fall so far behind in gold that now it just doesn't exist ever. Even with a great engage from Afro on a tactical, you still get essentially aced in that final fight where they finally took one. So Dignitas just never pulling the trigger and do get rightfully punished here with the loss.
Yep, and I think it's frustrating because we have seen much better out of Dignitas before. So a tough loss to swallow, certainly, but Team Liquid still looking good here. But don't go too far, because on the other side of the break, we'll hear from Jensen. So see you in just a few short minutes.
Welcome back to the Verizon postgame interview. I am joined by Liquid's Jensen after they take down Dignitas. Jensen, we spoke to you back in week 5, and overall it's just been a really good split for you, kind of quietly dominating mid lane. What for you has changed, if anything? Are you feeling better about your play? It just seems really good.
I don't know. I just feel like we're playing better as a team. We're more connected. So I think we just, I'm just going to look better naturally, like if we play better as a team. And I think, you know, at least today we had really good team cohesion and yeah, took the dub.
Heck yeah. So if you were to reflect kind of on this split over your gameplay, where do you think you've advanced to kind of find the success?
I don't know. I'd say like biggest improvement for me personally is probably just, you know, being more connected as a team. Like I think, you know, if I get an advantage, I think now I'm better at like snowballing it or utilizing it with my teammates' help. And yeah, I think that's like the biggest change for me personally is just utilizing my teammates and snowballing better that way.
I was going to say, we saw that today with Tactical stealing your Penta, so everybody's really there helping out all the time as much as they can. It was awesome to see you. I'm sure the fans were happy to see you back on LeBlanc and kind of crushing faces too, and the old Jensen coming out, they were saying. Talking about playoffs now, the 1-2 spot is kind of within the reach, probably something that's going to happen for Team Liquid. Is this something that you'd be happy to get? Do you want to keep playing through? Are you happy to kind of have the week off if it does come?
I think with the new format for summer, I think it's really important to get first if you can, just with how the new seeding and everything works. So getting the week off is a nice bonus, I guess. But honestly, I like playing, so I would be happy with playing that extra week as well. But you know, getting to scout your opponents and just having more time to prep is not a bad thing either. But yeah, I mean, personally, I would be fine either way. But just in terms of seeding and stuff, like getting first in the regular season is definitely important for summer.
Right on. And that's my final question coming up is kind of practice for playoffs, prepping with the position you have right now and the schedule you're looking at with still preparing for your opponents. Is it time to lock down for playoffs? Is practice best of 5s? What's going on for the team right now as you guys prepare?
Honestly, I'm not sure if we're changing anything up too much. You know, maybe I'll find out in the next few weeks, but I think we're just going to keep, you know, doing the same thing and just working on the stuff we've been working on and just try to prepare as many different styles as we can for playoffs so we can be, you know, a bit more like versatile or flexible team because we have been sticking to a lot of the same picks most of the season. So I think we're just going to try out some more picks now that we're approaching playoffs.
Awesome. Jensen, thank you so much for the insight and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to take a moment, throw it back to the State Farm analyst desk so they can break that one down.
Thank you, Riv, and thank you, Jensen. Lots of props he's dishing out to the rest of his team, but I don't know. If I were him, I'd have some choice words, not just for Tactical for stealing the Penta, but Impact for coming in and ruining the chances at a perfect game for Team Liquid. So close, probably. They were so close.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset with
Those
Impact.
are rare.
I don't know why he did that. Because I thought Team Liquid had a pretty decent game plan coming into it. Yeah, we always talk about Dignitas' bot lane with big playmakers, so TL pretty much neutralized them. They banned the Kate, they banned the Ashe, and they picked the Ezreal. So it was very kind of like non-interactive bot lane. There really wasn't much that Johnson and Aframu could really do in this lane. It's just kind of farming and it can scale well. And then they also banned the Graves, so yeah, you have Dardoch who doesn't really get to play a big carry. The one criticism I do have is, yeah, they left the Zera for Phoenix, and before this game, all right, that was his like best champ by far, right? So after this game, maybe you'll say, okay, maybe we can leave up Azir, but realistically, it's like, other than that, it was a pretty good game. I did like the fact that the direction Broxa took in the early game was to gank mid because you have such a farming top, farming bot, and then you have a LeBlanc mid. So I did think that Team Liquid had a really good plan coming into today.
I really like the Shen as well because I think what happened to Dig where they did nothing this game is that you get paralyzed when you're up against a Shen thinking, I don't have playmaking tools if I have to keep in mind that there's a Shen that's going to port in every single time. So I think that that's what also slowed them down. There were opportunities. I think they could maybe go for tower dives in the bottom lane, but Team Liquid drafted so safely to make sure that there is no playmaking available that Dignitas just said, well, all right, I guess there's no place to be made. And
yeah, I was going to say, on the flip side, at least TL made a play or two to keep the game, from being totally deathless. Jensen, once again, having a good game after having a bit of an off week last week. They keyed off him for the first kill. His LeBlanc is absolutely great and just had really good setup in order to get this kill. A little bit of a mistake there by Phoenix. They were able to punish it super well. And then from there, to Prawley's point, it is really scary to try and attack this LeBlanc. The Shen can always jump in with the LeBlanc, and then they even start bringing people up to Shen to help break him out as well.
And this is just this spells doom for a team. Like if they're diving the Shin lane, you can't attack anything else because oh, let's go attack mid. Well, Shin can still ult, so it's like you don't even have a big numbers advantage if the Shin team is diving the top lane. So yeah, this is Dignitas trying to fight back, but at this point they're so far behind in gold, and their team comp just doesn't work that well when it's just a full 5v5 when you're this far behind. Because yeah, you saw the engage went off and there's no damage. Team Liquid, if you see the HP bar on the very bottom, they're still 75%. I watched Tactical use his Arcane Shift into the Renekton when he was already on top of the Renekton because he had Death's Dance, he had Iceborne Gauntlet, so he's like, yeah, hit me. I'm the tanky one, not you anymore.
I mean, I'm just still so disappointed in Dig, if I'm being honest. This is what their new identity seems to be, is kind of do nothing and then kind of lose the game. It happened versus TSM. It happened versus I forget which game it was. They had another slow game. I think it was Golden Guardians, maybe.
Yeah, that's a Lulu game.
Yep. In recent weeks, this is what Dig's identity has seems like it's become again after that hot 2-0 week. I'm totally off the train.
Yeah, I believe that the bot lane in that game had ended with 0 participation in anything too. So you want to see that proactivity from a team when they're trying to make the drive for playoffs. And if we're looking over at the Team Liquid side, who are trying to make the running of being the #1 team, a lot of people look at it as an opportunity for Jensen to step up. And clearly today he did in this game.
I tell you, giving him the LeBlanc versus Azir matchup, I saw it coming when the Azir wasn't banned. It was an opportunity, I think, for Team Liquid, for Dignitas to change up their bans and maybe target Jensen with it. But even though Jensen had a really good game, and even though Team Liquid did so well, the fact that Dignitas did absolutely nothing, they offered no resistance whatsoever, still makes me have doubt in the back of my mind of how good Team Liquid is, because there was no opponent. How are you supposed to know who they played against? What did they do?
They're like a super fluid. There's no resistance. There's no just goes straight across.
But at the same time, we're looking at what didn't go well for Dignitas. But for Team Liquid, we have to look at the fact that they are a team we're looking to have these performances against those that are still struggling to make their way into playoffs. Probably, if we're looking at what this means going into the remainder of the schedule for Team Liquid, considering the strength of it as well, what do you think that we're going to make of their final performances in the regular season?
I think they're going to do really well. I mean, even in that game, that was such a fast win. And if you looked around the 20-minute mark, they took almost all the tier 2s without taking Baron. So this wasn't a Team Liquid low kill, we're just going to wait for Dragon Soul or something. No, they were continually pushing, making plays. So I did really like this kind of form of Team Liquid, where it wasn't just we're going to farm you out. It's no, they actually were moving around the map pretty well. They had good rotations and stuff like that. So I did like this version of Team Liquid, and this is kind of what I want the top teams to be doing to the bottom teams. I don't want these, close, scrappy games. Yeah, you get your advantage because you're a good team, you have a good early game, and I want you to just destroy the macro, take all their turrets, and other than Impact, it was a perfect game.
It is a wonderful way for Team Liquid to set the tone for the rest of their remaining games in the regular season, but we do have other teams that are competing to do the same. We're stepping away, and when we return, we'll have Evil Geniuses versus TSM taken to the Rift.
I think I wanted super conductive, not super.
Many of us are working from home and adjusting to new coworkers. Coworkers who borrow supplies and always interrupt meetings. A gift can help. And when you use your MasterCard, you have security benefits that keep you protected, so your purchase ends up in the right hands or mouth. And your staff can start something priceless.
Verizon knows how to build unlimited right. You start with America's most awarded network, the one with unbeatable reliability 13 times in a row.
This network is one less thing I have to worry about.
Then you give people more plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need.
Verizon Unlimited plan is so reasonable, they could stay on for the rest of their lives.
You include the best in entertainment, and you offer it all starting at $35. Because everyone deserves the best. This is Unlimited built right, only on Verizon.
League, if you're just joining us, our apologies for the change in scenery for today. Technical difficulties, have kicked us out of the LCS Dome, but the show must go on, and the Dome will be back as soon as we can. Thank you, though, for your patience and your understanding. But scenery aside, we are now heading into our second game of the evening, as Evil Geniuses will be taking on TSM. We have two teams that are currently in playoffs, aiming to solidify their positions in the upper bracket.
TSM close to that top 2, but they do have a very difficult schedule coming up. They still have TL and C9. So, if TSM want to prove that they are a top 2 team, they're going to have that opportunity. They have EG 7-7, Golden Guardians 7-7, and then the 2 top teams in the league. If they can look strong in these final 4 games, claim for themselves potentially a bye, that would be really, really big. And then on the other side, EG is sitting comfortably in the upper bracket. That is that top 6 mark. They're 2 games up on 100 Thieves as well as CLG, so it is possible for them to be caught, and they still want to try to pick up as many wins as possible to make sure that they are not starting in that lower bracket.
Yep, 2 wins behind TSM, so it would go a long way in potentially propelling them maybe even further up into the standings. So a lot on the line here as far as playoff implications go. And we'll see what happens here in the draft, because 6 bans are already through. Olaf, LeBron, Kalista, Karma, Ezreal, and Gangplank all taken off the board. So first pick falls to Huni for Evil Geniuses.
Interesting to see where exactly they do want to go.
Not
Graves. Yeah. Graves open here for Sven Skaren, so he is going to grab it. Only his actually second play of the split on it. He has been on Trundle duty for a lot of the split, 5 plays on that. We'll see how he's going to be able to perform here on the Graves. Golden Glue has been looking good, I think, on Zoe, so it will be interesting to see if that is going to be taken away whatsoever, or if TSM is not really worried about it. Volibear, always a pretty good flex.
Ooh, there we go!
Directions, but Caitlyn going to come through, and Caitlyn has been absolutely dominating in solo queue, especially in high elo. They talked about it earlier on the desk. It did just get 2 base AD, but some of the other competing marksmen did get nerfed. I also tend to think that the Spell Thief buffs actually help Caitlyn as well, because Caitlyn pairs very well with a lot of enchanters, a lot of supports that would like to actually use Spell Thieves. And if people are going to be willing to play some of those more lane dominant styles, alongside things, even like the Nami, you can really crush lanes, start to pressure turrets very early on. And Caitlyn does not have a lot of bad matchups. But that being said, Ashe is a good matchup, fairly even into the Caitlyn, so there is potential for Caitlyn to struggle in that if you misplay whatsoever. And at the very least, Ashe can kind of hold that relatively even.
Yep, there's the Zoe as well that you predicted, so Golden Glue going to have that one again. But, I mean, if you had to blindly guess which LCS marksman was going to play Caitlyn, Double is a pretty good guess. He has quite a good historical record on the champion. It is going to be an enchanter here as well. Well, I guess kind of a soft enchanter, Morgana. A bit different from your typical range support, but certainly fits the bill of what you said with that Spell Thief buff going over. Morgana Caitlyn is an absolute classic as far as duo lanes go, and Treats is going to be presumably piloting that one in the support role.
We are assuming it, but it could also be mid lane. Because you can also use this into the Zoe if you want. Black Shield obviously works on sleep. You have pretty good push on the wave, and if you can actually shove that out, Zoe may struggle. But we are assuming it's going to be bot lane. Obviously, binding into trap or trap into binding. The CC layering there is incredibly powerful. Post level 6, being able to set that up with your ultimate to guarantee trap out of that, guarantee binding, becomes very, very deadly. And I also like that they are running this range support alongside the Caitlyn, for some of the reasons I was mentioning earlier. Also, Spell Thieves getting buffed helps Morgana. I'm not sure if Treats is actually going to go towards the Spell Thieves or not, but Morgana is one of the range supports that actually has the easiest time in triggering that Spell Thieves constantly, because you can actually just proc it with your pool. It's very, very easy. So I would be interested to see if he'll go that route, or if we'll still have kind of that more defensive Relic Shield Guardian style of play that we've been mostly getting from a lot of these enchanters.
I'm honestly just happy that, TSM's new duo lane is playing something different, like willing to play Caitlyn, which we were expecting to see, but they are going to be the first team to pull it out. Treats last week when C9 was playing Sonolux, we're talking about how they, he and Double were playing it in solo queue, so I think they are clearly kind of keep on top of the meta and make sure they're, you know, continuing to find the strong champions in their roles, and showing off here with the Caitlyn for Double, which again, not a pick he was upset to go back to, I'm sure, but Zilean is the pick there as they flash a couple of supports, but the smoke and mirrors will now be revealed as presumably that is Zilean mid, and continue still Morgana for Treats.
Yeah, well, yeah, but there's a small chance that it's Zilean support, but we're not really consider that. Bjergsen is one of the best, and if not the best Zilean players in the league. He has an over 70% win rate all time, and 71.4 here, if those numbers are correct. So he has really been dominant on it. I do think that you want to have another consistent form of damage, so we are looking towards a carry for Broken Blade, especially if you're going to be going towards something like this with that Zilean. But this is a pretty powerful comp. You know, you have the ability to speed up the Volibear to get a little bit better engaged there. They could also draft towards something a little bit more hard engaged style up on the top side. I actually think something like Maokai could be really good here when you're playing into the blind Kennen. You know, being able to rush a cowl, you can really start to shrug off a lot of what that Kennen can do, and it would give you the hard engage to be able to actually jump on top of a lot of these relatively low mobility carries. Malphite could also work, but I think it's such a harder lane matchup.
There it is.
I actually like this quite a lot less, to be honest with you. I just think this is kind of like so the ultimate is more powerful as far as the engage goes, and I think that's why they're going for this. They're prioritizing, you know, the actual team fighting more than the lane, but there is always a risk of Malphite just getting trashed in lane, you know, especially if there is jungle attention up there from Svenskeren by the Kennen, and if that happens, then you can start to become pretty worthless, whereas I feel like Maokai can actually withstand and even oftentimes, you know, get into a winning position against the Kennen. So we'll see how it works, because if you can survive the lane as the Malphite, you know, you have the ability to throw a bomb on top of Malphite with the Zilean. You ult in, the bomb triggers. You have the full combo coming through from Malphite, as well as any sort of follow-up damage there coming through from the back, and that is a really devastating combo for a lot of these champions that are relatively low mobility, especially the Ashe is going to be in a lot of trouble if they can pull that off, because you are completely relying on your flash to escape things like that.
Yeah, I love, you know, when strong ADs that are kind of immobile, especially when there's no TK or Thresh or anything like that to kind of get the AD out of there. I love Maokai, Malphite, these kind of champions. We even saw this actually from Immortals in LCS. They were constantly just diving Aphelios with the Malphite, trying to take out that carry, because once that carry dies, it's so much harder for you to win a team fight. So in some ways, this is kind of a throwback comp for TSM. People were talking about like Doublelift and Bjergsen, TSMs, and what those teams look like. This comp, with the exception of Volibear, because he was a completely different champion back then, it's actually kind of like reminding me of a lot of stuff they used to run.
But where's the Tree SM?
That's true.
Know, you know?
So, I agree with you. Not just for the Tree SM throwback, but because I do think Maokai is good here. I think not a hard and fast rule, but a good shortcut to think about when you're picking, you know, which tank do I want in the top lane. I think generally you can say that Malphite likes to be up against AD champions, and Maokai is actually quite good into Magic champions. So
exactly. Yeah. Oh, is this going to be a lane swap, or is this just an invade? This is really interesting. They're camping out in that brush. You do have Morgana, so I like the attempt, right, you know, of kind of looking around for this. Okay, it's not a lane swap. Just was a potential invade there, seeing if they could actually catch Huni, maybe standing in a bad spot. And if they could have, hey, worth the attempt. Don't really lose anything for it. So I do like that from TSM. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good way to put it, as you say. It is more about, you know, Malphite versus AD. Maokai versus AP. Huni is Conqueror. This is telling me that it's very likely going to be more that lane-focused build. That is kind of the player that Huni generally is too. So most often when you see Conqueror, you're actually seeing Gunblade alongside it to be able to sustain. This also works fairly well into the rune setup that Broken Blade has chosen, because when you are playing Comet Malphite, you're actually looking for the Q-Max. You're looking to use Comet every time your Mana Flow band is ready to actually reduce some of the kind of costs there and try to poke out ranged champions. But when they do go Conquer, when they do go towards Gunblade and rush early Vamp, you don't actually have enough damage to keep them low, and your Comet poke becomes pretty worthless.
Yeah, also of note, because these teams actually drafted so quickly, cool to see Zeyzal on center support here. We've seen center every now and then this summer, but her being in her other like hard support role is not something we've seen all that often, so it's cool to see Zeyzal on this pick. And double, I feel like we haven't seen a double range 2v2 in bot lane in quite a long time, so just fun to see this matchup play out, especially with Caitlyn being back in the meta, it seems.
Has been quite a while, and it's also worth noting how defensively Bang has actually set up. He's playing Cleanse, he's playing Fleet Footwork, he's playing Doran Shield, and he is also going for Biscuits here. So, fully expecting that he may have some trouble actually against this Morgana and Caitlyn. But I'm not really convinced that he had to go this defensive, because I do think Senna is quite a strong laner also. And there's not really it's not really a big concern to have the root from Senna Black shielded. Morgana is much more powerful, much more of an answer to things like Blitzcrank and Thresh, where they're super dependent upon that CC landing. That's not really the case here with the Senna. So I do think that with Ashe and Senna, you could actually just win this 2v2 straight up.
Also shield here for Treats, which I just noticed. We spent a lot of time talking about Spell Thieves, and it is certainly good on Morgana, but Treats taking the Relic here instead. Feeling the pressure certainly in the 2v2.
Yeah, this is just a much more defensive option, and if you don't feel like you need the mana regen, then great. You're going to get some more health, obviously, with that Relic Shield. You have the Guardian, both for potential all-ins that could come through, but also to help negate some of the poke. But they are honestly getting bullied really, really hard. Their farm has kept up, but they are taking the brunt of this poke. They are also going fairly defensive as far as the rune setup does go. So it's also Fleet Footwork and Dorans and Biscuits everywhere. So likely they will be able to sustain enough to just keep farming. But EG almost got a tower play, really on this kind of first push towards the turret. So they are doing a good job.
Yeah, looking real good there. Guardian Vid Treats as well alongside the Exhaust. So everyone's chilling out and trying to farm up in the bottom lane 2v2 right now. Speaker also showed some attention to the top half of the map, but just covering Broken Blade's base, as he does have a Doran's Ring. So alongside that Dark Seal and the Corrupting Pot, looking to, again, continue to harass with the Q-Max and the Comet here. So trying to make sure that Huni doesn't get away with laning early on for free, which is something that Kennen so often can do against melee champions.
Yep, definitely the case. And your mana is going to be what kind of helps you combat the push, right? Being able to have enough mana to actually, AoE out the wave with your W and your E allows you to not just have this situation where you're stuck under your own turret, getting poked out by the cannon, losing tower blade. So we are on a pause. We'll let you know as soon as we do find out exactly what that is for. But it is just a kind of a powerful early game lane setup. It's somewhat, this is kind of the new age version of what we used to see way back in the day when you saw tanks with the triple Dorans, when the passive used to stack and everything. Obviously that's all been nerfed. So now it is Corrupting Potion, Dark Seal, Dorans, but it's essentially just 3 early game laning items to keep your mana up and to try to have, a decent chunk of AP behind your Q spam to hopefully be able to overpower the sustain that Ken is going to be building towards.
Yeah, seems like players are experiencing some latency issues right now, so obviously want to get those resolved before they do want to resume the game. Talking about tanks and the top lane, though, and specifically dealing with Magic Damage Champions, I'm going to go a little off topic here, but I know somewhere there's a very fond place in your heart. The likelihood of seeing this champion is not very high, but if you're playing at home and you're getting beat up by Kennen and solo queue and you love playing tanks in the top lane, look no further than the greatest PhD holder in all of Runeterra. It is, of course, Dr. Mundo, who absolutely trashes Magic Damage top laners if you can navigate the matchup.
Yep, and honestly, Mundo is just the problem with Mundo is he's so kind of countered by an 800 gold item called Nurse, because you're so reliant on self-healing, to actually be strong in team fights. But as far as, matchups against AP, they can't actually itemize towards that. If Kennen goes AD, it's pretty trash in team fighting. So, it is a really good answer to that. And Mundo also can farm from range, obviously, with cleavers. So Mundo has very few bad matchups unless they can, fully freeze on you and all in you and whatever. But obviously that is pretty off topic because no one plays Mundo. Last time I remember really seeing Mundo at all was quite a while ago, and it was like Zion Spartan playing it into Rumble. Because it was actually a really good Rumble matchup where you could kind of just chase him down and beat down the Rumble, ignoring pretty much everything he was trying to do. But I'm glad at least that people are branching out a little bit more from just Ornn only as the tank. I do think that Malphite can be very effective situationally. I do think that Sion and Maokai can be very effective situationally. Shen is really good. So there are more tank options. And generally speaking, tank options are just better for top lane if you're not going to be giving more assistance towards that style of play. If your top laner is going to play a carry and you're going to camp for it, great. But no one really wants to play that style these days because dragons are too important. And almost the entire game feels like about stacking dragons and fighting for soul, right? And if you're spending all this time, camping for your top laner, it's got to be so worth it, because they have got to then be able to come down to that third dragon fight where you've already given up the first 2 dragons, and they've got to carry that fight because you're losing that bot side, generally speaking, if you're spending all the time up there. And that's why we don't really see a lot of kind of attention spent up to the top side. So tank's a good answer for that. Alorum's been someone who I think has been quite serviceable, with that sort of play style. He was a guy who was playing the Malphite a fair bit too. So it's nice to see it mixed in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think not something that we often associate with Broken Blade. On, obviously, is something he's played a lot of, but I think that's more speaking to just how good On is, even in lane. Although he, of course, has been weakened a little bit recently. But, definitely loves his carries, loves to try and win the 1v1, even if he's not, getting jungle attention, which, as you mentioned, is not something that's all that common right now with how important dragons are early. Certainly, at least likes to have a winning matchup and try and get ahead there. Right now, he's definitely looking to just split the lane and impact team fights, but I think Huni's going to be relatively happy with that as well. As we are back into the game, EG actually on farm up 600 gold at 5 minutes, which is not insignificant, but Bang is going to go back and spend some money, and looks like Zeyzal's going to go ahead and do the same.
A lot of that is the turret play bot lane and then also the farm mid lane. And, Golden Glue is doing a great job. I do think that Zilean is actually really hard to farm properly on in the early game. Once you get a lot of levels and you get some AP, it becomes a joke because you just spam bombs out. But you can't just, kill all the minions with bombs in the early game. You're dependent upon, a pretty terrible auto attack animation that does very little damage to actually last hit a lot of that. And in some cases, if your opponent is really heavily pushing you in, you are just going to miss more farm.
Oh, this timing
You're
sucks
in trouble.
so bad. Stun's going to land. Broken Blade gets the E-slap down. Speaker's going to flash in, and first blood comes through as the Malphite Q is going to tag Huni.
It looks like Huni was going down to potentially ward in River there. Broken Blade just kind of chased him out, and Huni ran right back into the Volibear there. Bit of anti-timing, and does end up going down, plus the kill goes to his lane opponent, so that really sucks here for Huni. Yeah, he was definitely going down, it looked like, to ward, and just gets caught out here by Spica. At this point, I mean, the flash is fine to actually attempt to get out. Maybe you're hoping you can get multiple flashes, but Spica places the E forward to where Huni's going to be, flashes in, ends up getting that kill. But the fact that he went up towards that top side does mean that EG will be able to grab this dragon. They had push in this bottom lane. They will be working on a second turret play here, and Doublelift has already spent his TP and is actually pretty far away from getting back to lane here. So tons of damage actually being done to this tower, and the potential to threaten a dive. Like, Bang and Zeyzal are posturing fairly aggressively because there was the idea maybe in TSM's mind that Svenskeren and Golden could have headed over there. They obviously didn't end up doing that, but still, significant farm lead down that bot side for EG, and they have taken multiple turret plates already.
Yeah, looking really good in the 2v2 so far. Bang up about 12 CS or so. It looks like Zeyzal is going to take the recall that didn't take earlier when I thought he was going to. Hawkshot also going to get a ton of good information as it just flies across the rift. Explodes on the Krugs at the end to show that camp is gone. But again, one of the reasons Ashe is so highly prized, and not only is her general laning very stable and very good, but her utility, especially with something as innocuous looking as the Hawkshot, is very powerful at this level.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you have a matchup like Graves into the Volibear, where, really the only way that Volibear could threaten Graves whatsoever is if you kind of surprise him. You get caught in a counter gank or something like that. Graves with Phase Rush, never really going to be able to stick to that as a PTA Voldy. Press the attack, obviously, the rune that Speak has chosen. So, anytime you can spot the Volibear, you can either go in for counter jungling, you can be able to power farm a little bit more effectively, and Svenskeren, as a result, will be hoping to get a lead. But thus far, Spica has kept even in farm and actually is the one to pull off a gank himself. So Spica has done the better job.
Yep. Also, Golden Glue returning to lane. Blue buff's going to get handed off to these mid laners. And Golden Glue also up nicely in CS, 15 right now, but of course Bjergsen's going to pick up 3, so call it about 2 ways for Golden Glue. Oh, that arrow's sick. Golden Glue's in there, going to make him drowsy as well. The CC chain never ends, but Golden Glue, I'm not sure if he can get the kill here, still following up. The ulti now going to be used, and not enough to proc that one.
Yeah, barely able to get out of there. Bjergsen very happy that he did buy that Null Magic Mantle as well as the Ruby Crystal, which is kind of barely enough health to keep him alive, but EG do use that pressure to go over towards this Rift Herald and should be able to grab it for themselves.
Also fighting Broken Blade there. Fang is also here. He's going to run up top lane instead. Ulti out from Huni means ulti out for Broken Blade, as the Rift Herald's going to go over to EG there as well. I am curious, because Jackson was still stunned from the arrow, because of course, when it's from a decently long range, it lasts so long. I wonder if Golden Glue thought the sleep would break. I actually don't know what the answer to that question is, because he kind of stopped autoing, I think thinking that he didn't want to wake Bjergsen up, but if you're still stunned, can you wake up from being drowsy? I don't know.
I mean, you would wake up from being drowsy, but you'd still be stunned, right? Like
Yes.
the debuff would be removed for the bonus damage, but you would still be CC locked.
Yeah, obviously trying to maximize CC duration there, so Bjergsen couldn't ult, but unfortunately Svenskeren wasn't there in time to give out some additional damage, I think is the reason. Bjergsen was able to get out without using his flash. Still, the pressure from EG still looking great, so thank you for answering my question. I was curious. Plate's going down in bottom lane, but top lane looking like the bigger problem right now as EG are racing as the Herald gets popped, and that's going to win the race pretty handily.
Yeah, anytime you have Herald, you should win that race, but honestly, not that bad for TSM, you know, considering they almost killed that bot lane turret and actually have pulled even or a tiny bit ahead here in the farm for Doublelift, considering they were losing the 2v2 pretty heavily. I don't think they're going to be that unhappy with this trade, with this turn of events. You can see Broken Blade is just building straight towards the armor. He doesn't want to go towards MR. You know, he just tried to go for the kind of triple laning items with the Doran's Ring, the Corrupting Potion, as well as that Dark Seal, and then likely going to get Tabby's Sunfire and just try to be prepared for this triple marksman composition that he will be dealing with.
You can see Sven is farming up. Zazel going around collecting souls, always important as Senna. You try and follow your jungler whenever you can. Getting 3 stacks for yourself. And Arrow, once again in mid. Bjergsen not going to eat it this time.
Yeah, those are fairly optimistic. You know, I don't mind the try, because sometimes you do have these games, especially in pro play, where there's less fights, where no ults go out for a long time, and now this one will get flash out of Bjergsen. So, you know, they're kind of fishing, trying to pressure Bjergsen, trying to not allow him to get in the spot where he can really play comfortably. EG obviously also wants to be setting up for these dragons. They got the first one because Spica did go top for that pressure there. And now if you can actually take control over mid lane, it makes it very difficult for TSM to move from that mid lane down towards the dragon pit. You can see there's multiple pink wards in the area for EG as well. So they are really trying to prepare for this.
Yeah, Bang though, trying not to eat too much harass. TP in from TSM. Hello, Broken Blade. Ready with the ulti. Oh, they certainly do. But no minions now. Going to have to do it without assistance. And Broken Blade's just wrapping here. The TP in again. Oh, misses Bang just barely. But he just gets Zazel, and it just doesn't matter. Doublelift is going to take down Bang. The rest of TSM descending on the second kill. They will take down Zazel as well, as the bottom lane from EG just disappears.
That was a great execute there from TSM. So well timed, because not only did they get Broken Blade down here on that long TP flank, they had Bjergsen coming in. He had the ultimate available as well, so there was not really much of an opportunity for EG to punish, and Huni didn't have his teleport yet. Neither did Golden Glue, so TSM had the timers. They make the play there, get 2 kills, get the tower, get the dragon, and everything working out for them. We'll see if there's any chance that EG can get over here, but it would be a real long shot, so not really worth the attempt.
Huni the only one to see the Drake go down, and wasn't in a position to steal it, of course. There is going to be Mountain, Rift, and Soul here for this game. But TSM fighting back, they'll give themselves the gold lead now, up 700 in this game. We'll watch this one again. I don't even know how that ward got there, but it was a good one.
I think Broken Blade actually dropped it as he was coming around here. I do believe he just drops the ward, places it for Bjergsen so he can go in aggressively, and he's taking the tower. So if he actually has the fight get turned around on him, Bjergsen's teleport should finish before he dies, and he would have the ultimate available. So this was just really good play. You have Spica's ultimate there to follow up as well to turn off the tower. TSM executed on that incredibly well. Huni does have a build to Water Cutlass. I'm still expecting this to be Gunblade like I talked about earlier on. But he is building, a fair bit of AP in these early levels, double Doran's Blade plus the Cutlass, and he ended up still losing lane to Broken Blade. Yes, Spica was a large part of that, but the fact that they got the Malphite out of lane in a really good spot, and Malphite is going to be incredibly powerful against this triple marksman composition. They forced him to build 0 MR. They lost lane with the Kennen. The Malphite is like 10 times as useful as the Kennen is at this point, because it's not even a full AP Kennen. This is not the find your backline and one-shot them Kennen. This is the like auto-attack, stack up Conqueror, and play for the side lane Kennen, who's losing in that playstyle.
Yeah, just right now can't really do much but farm against Broken Blade, and hopefully no one comes down to visit. As top lane farm is being collected by Bjergsen right now, as TSM are going to shuffle their lanes around. Doublelift currently sitting in mid lane alongside Bang and Zeyzal, as the dual lanes will be collecting the safest source of farm here in the mid game. Golden Glue and Svenskeren trying to stay active. Golden Glue's hit some pretty nice bubbles in lane, but despite his lane advantage, does need to try and translate that somewhere else.
I mean, he's farmed very well, so we can give him credit for that. He's up above 10 CS per minute. He's 30 CS up on Bjergsen, so he was doing really well in that 1v1. May have been a bit of Bjergsen just missing some of the CS early on. As I said, it is tough laning as Zilean, and if you're a little bit off, you're going to miss a lot of that farm. But either way, credit to Golden Glue for that farm advantage. And we'll see if he can kind of turn that into something else, as you said.
Zeyzal also getting aggressive. TSM are situated here. Ooh, good arrow. Golden Glue with the follow-up, but good black shield there for Treats. Doublelift though still forced the flash to Svenskeren. He's going to send it in there with the collateral damage, and it's 2 marksman ultis to take down Doublelift.
There's just way too many skill shots there coming through on a Doublelift. He does flash out, and I believe the sleep was actually blocked by Treats' black shield, but they still had the collateral damage. They had the ultimate coming through from Svenskeren. They had Golden Glue there to follow up with the Paddle Star, and now they're looking to actually dive Huni. Spica has wrapped around behind.
Surprise! Malphite ulti! And that's going to be a kill. Spica's going to collect it, and TSM probably going to get this tower as well, starting to really ramp up. Like you said, the Malphite's awfully useful right now, and Broken Blade's going to show off exactly why.
Able to land that ultimate very, very easily as Spica landed the Q, so he's stunned up. Huni decides he's not going to flash, which I think is the right choice. Maybe you force their flash out, but flash Kennen is very, very valuable if you can get in the back line, and maybe you can get something done despite not even being full AP. It is Gunblade as I expected, but I just think that it's kind of like too little too late. Honestly, nothing is going to make him dominate in the side lane at this point in the game, so I kind of wouldn't have minded if he just like went past this and went for Spell Pen. Even just went towards like Sork Boots and Oblivion Orb and tried to get something where if you get that Miracle Flank, then maybe you can actually kill off Doublelift and Treats, because that's what it feels like they are kind of relying on for this Kennen to have value. That being said, other members of the team are still strong, so EG is obviously in the game.
Yeah, and all of Bang's movements actually made him fall a little bit behind in farm. Doublelift 20 CS ahead right now, so we watch this mid lane play actually.
This is just a great arrow from Bang. He's hit multiple this game already, and this would be that second one. I believe he did hit that first onto Zilean. Bjergsen, wasn't there, obviously, to be able to actually drop the ultimate on Doublelift, so it was just on him trying to be able to escape. He is playing TP, so he doesn't have heal and wasn't able to get out of there in time. Treats did block that sleep, but Doublelift now in trouble again, potentially.
Nets out. Huni does zap him with the Gunblade, but Doublelift is more than fine. Dragon is up in 20 seconds, and the teams have split the first 2, so we'll see which team can be first on the board towards that soul. As Golden Glue is throwing bubbles in. EG do have control of mid currently. TSM with control of the pit.
But this is dangerous. If you give up mid lane control against a Rift Herald team, like they have the Herald there. Bjergsen sidestepped the arrow, but he had Black Shield. He shouldn't have done that.
A bonus redemption. Oh, Broken Blade tried to ulti in, but he's fallen asleep at the wheel. In the front side, he's going to get snared up. Good ult from Bjerg. But Huni dived in. He's actually found a good amount of damage on the Doublelift, but now has to kind of get out of there. A Spica is going to get low. Huni is awfully low on health as Doublelift ulti does get him down there, but doesn't go down. Still, the Dragon goes over to TSM, and a very close affair near the mid lane does result in the Drake over to TSM.
It could be the mid lane tier 2 going down, though. If Svenskeren wants to actually drop this Rift Herald. Hasn't done it just yet. They will just be able to take it down and actually save the Herald potentially for something else later. Either way, great flash from Golden Glue, reactively flashing out from that Malphite ultimate, allowed him to get away from Broken Blade, but TSM do still win the fight and do still grab that Dragon, so working towards the potential Mountain Soul, which honestly would make the front line pretty much invincible. Zoe and Kennen are not frontline tank killers, so you just build enough HP that you can basically ignore the damage that comes out from them, that burst damage. I just want to see Broken Blade and Spica just stack armor. You're going to get the bonus armor coming through from those Mountain Dragons. You're going to have that massive Mountain Soul shield if you can get there, and you can just start to laugh at Senna, Ashe, and Graves.
I feel like from a lore perspective, Mountain Soul feels very overpowered on Malphite, right? You know, he's already like supposed to be a mountain. He's got that shield that kind of looks like the Mountain Soul one. He's gonna have another one. There's gonna be Black Shield. Broken Blade's gonna be unassailable.
So does that mean that Malphite has no soul without it, or does he get like a second soul?
I do not know. That is
we'll check in.
We'll
check in with the writers.
We definitely have to check.
Because my immersion may just be ruined at this point. You know?
That is true.
Everything else was pretty believable, but that's a bridge too far.
Certainly so. It's Broken Blade again, just not afraid of Huni at all. Despite this Gunblade and this Conqueror, doesn't need to really respect the Kenna 1v1. Might need to respect Svenskeren coming in, but I'm going to say probably not. Given how much armor Broken Blade already has, Svenskaren's just kind of going to tickle him more than anything, even with the Black Cleaver.
Yeah, he can just walk it out. And this Rift Herald probably not going to do a lot. TSM can kind of just come down here and respond. I don't even think it's going to get a charge off, unfortunately, for EG. I do think it's weird now that Broken Blade is going for a late MR. This is probably just an Abyssal that he's going to be building towards. But I feel like you survive the lane, which is the hard part anyway. Why not just stack armor and you know, just kind of laugh at all these marksmen on the team? I don't feel like he actually needs to build MR, but maybe he is more worried about Huni in this side lane split push than I think I would be.
Well, I like that EG at least escorted the Herald actually to this tower. They're going to take it out as well as a result. For a second there, it's like EG and TSM queued up for like different WoW servers, right? Like it's PvE versus PvP, and they couldn't figure out which one they were on. But the Herald does get the charge off. EG will take a tower as a result, and Broken Blade's going to go ahead and finish that off. So a very close game, all things considered. 1,000 gold up for EG right now, but not that significant. Stormbringer over because Bjergsen's the one already with the slows on slows on slows, and Huni is going to be departed from the Rift once again.
Yep, Huni goes down. Not much you can do about that. Great TP from Bjergsen. And TSM did let their bottom turret go down, but it was because Bjergsen actually went top to push that, so he was threatening that top lane turret. Broken Blade, you know, was down on the bottom side, so Golden Glue TP's up, tries to answer Bjergsen, which means there's a TP disadvantage, and TSM can do this play on the bot side. So TSM has been moving around the map very well. I do think that Bjergsen, both his TPs have been quite effective, and TSM is scaling up to a really comfortable spot. Doublelift has the Essence Reaver done, and this is more of a new age, very heavy AD build. Obviously, your Q going to be very powerful. Your ulti is much more powerful. You are kind of missing that attack speed, but you know, very heavy on the AD.
Little speaker up here as well. Stena ulti going to turn things around. Golden Glue looking to fight it out, and Huni is here to seal the deal. Shut down as Huni goes and grab himself some bonus gold and some much-needed revenge.
Broken Blade committing pretty heavily to that, but not really a lot of reinforcements were around. The only person who was even in that quadrant on the map was Treats, so Broken Blade getting pretty overconfident, gives over a shutdown, and actually loses them control around this Baron Pit. And Broken Blade has had some oopsies for TSM this split just like that, where he's kind of, you know, wandering off by himself, you know, maybe going for a play that he shouldn't. This time they had the TP disadvantage, and Bjergsen couldn't actually TP to bail him out, and Huni comes across map, ends up getting a kill.
Yep, thankfully for TSM though, it's just vision loss right now around the Baron, which is still good for EG, but EG not going to attempt the Baron yet this early on. Instead, they'll continue maneuvering around the map and setting things up for the upcoming Dragon, because there is one to fight for in 35 seconds. Hawkshot is going to see a little bit into the red side jungle of TSM. Then again, with the game being close, the gold being similar between the two sides, and Huni's ult coming back off cooldown, it's going to be on for a 5v5 here as Golden Glue's chucking bubbles through the rocks.
Yeah, there's the Black Shield though. You can time it out at the end of the sleep, and it does immune you from going to sleep, so pretty nicely done there. But you know, as you said, it's going to be kind of about this fight. Huni is fully prepared for this one, though. He has the double spell pen, he has stopwatch and flash ulti ready, so you know, he can look for a flank, and if he gets it, it's actually going to be threatening at this point in the game. So we'll see if he can try to find that.
All right, 10 ultis, 10 flashes. Everyone's equipped as Ale. Here's I'm going to go ahead and start off the Dragon. Just had to do a quick roll call there of the available utility.
It's the quality of the flashes, not the quantity.
That's very accurate. As TSM continuing to maintain aggro here. EG looking for the angle. Bjergsen going to go to sleep. Black Shield's there to shake that one off. And Doublelift going to have to flash first. As the arrow was coming in, good flash from Zeyzal though, but straight in on Broken Blade as Svenskeren going to go down. That means the Dragon should be theirs, but EG are going to look for the counter-attack. Bjergsen ults himself, redemption down from Treat to keep everybody safe, and somebody needs to nab this Dragon. There's no jungler on the side of EG. Speaker's charging in there? Surely not.
Wait, he used his smite. he used his smite before. It was on cooldown for a split second there. I think he actually smote FLICKR in the fight, which is a major mistake in and of itself. Because when I looked over, it was a split second remaining on that cooldown. So never something you want to do. And perhaps EG did actually notice that. And if you do notice that, then you know, hey, that is going to be on cooldown. We actually have a good chance of taking this. Huni still had flash and ulti available. Doublelift had no flash. Bjergsen had no ultimate. So TSM wasn't willing to commit forward and actually take the fight, and because of that mistake from Spica, they lose a dragon. That should have been them at Soul Point. That should have been them threatening to end the game potentially here in 4 minutes. So let's watch this again, see if that's actually where he did use his smite, or if it was, you know, on cooldown for something else. At the beginning, this replay is showing me it is up, so I have to assume that he actually used his smite on FLICKR, and as FLICKR did move in, they land the ulti, he goes over, and yep, there it is. He used the smite onto FLICKR, and honestly would have made no difference because he was stunned up there anyway. But now TSM is saying, all right, Malphite's ult's on cooldown. The ult from Zilean is on cooldown. Doublelift has no flash, so if we push forward and you get flash ulti by Huni, maybe we actually lose this, and they weren't willing to take the fight. So pretty big mistake from Spica, is actually really punishing and pushes back their win condition a long time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely correct to not fight there, but definitely expected a smite from Spica that did not come through. And EG, if they did notice that, credit to them for continuing to stay on the dragon and making sure they could take it away as Broken Blade falls asleep in the top side. Svenich got knocked back by the dragon, which I think is what prompted Broken Blade to go in. So tough stuff for the jugglers there. It gets pretty chaotic around the objectives, especially as the game pushes on later. But still, EG up, but not by much. This game is going to be hanging in the balance for a while until a team can really open things up, and you have to expect that's around these major objectives. This game has been very close between these two sides.
I still do like TSM's comp, I think, a lot more, you know, going towards the later stages. This build that Doublelift went for is slower to turn online, but we'll see if we can get out of here. He has his ult and everything, he's fine. But once you actually do hit third item and you have the attack speed from your completed Zeal item plus your boots, you have so much AD and crit behind this that your headshots do tremendous amounts of damage. And we have to remember that you can swap as Bjergsen over from speeding up your front line to once Caitlyn's really strong. You just speed up Caitlyn and you black shield Caitlyn and send him in for Doublelift to get some work done, because a couple of crits once you have that third item is going to be devastating on really anyone from EG. It's not as though they have a single tank. They have some healing from Zeyzal, but anyone gets headshot twice by Caitlyn, they're pretty much dead.
And yeah, it's tough for sure. Thankfully for Bjergsen, he did not go air. He's actually got that GOP roller build again, and also Imagize this time. The reason I say that is because he cannot be tricked by Doublelift into buying Ardent Sensor, because he cannot apply any shields. But I certainly can buff this Caitlyn in team fights alongside the Morgana, and Doublelift can be unleashed upon the enemies with all of the buffs to move forward.
And it helps their engage too, right? Because if you actually hit them with the Super Soaker, you slow them down. That allows Malphite and Valdare to catch up. They are looking for Bjergsen though. He has no flash.
All right, time to speed out of there. Oh, he's in the smoke screen. Feels bad, man. Oh, the ulti is going to go down. The rest of the team's here though. Bjergsen now going to proc his own ulti. Treats is here firing away though. Broken Blade up, Doublelift late, but he is going to arrive in time for the fight. There's the ulti. 3 are knocked up by Broken Blade, but he is going to fall asleep as EG just continuing to fight it out. And Golden Glue, he's found the snipe, and somehow in the long team fight, despite the ulti from Broken Blade, it's a 1-for-1 trade, and Golden Glue still getting in there. He's got a flash he picked up off the floor, so he gets out of the attempt of binding, and the bubble's still coming through, but the Black Shield is on Doublelift. He's safe for now, and the ace in the hole is going to be not blocked by Bang, but it's not enough to kill the Zoe, so it's fine. But here's the TP on the extended play. Bjergsen zooming around, needs to find the angle for these bombs. Golden Glue, a good target if he can get it, but Bang zoning off with the volley. Still 4 here for EG. They've got to be careful. No stun landing onto Zeyzal, but Speaker again is going to follow up, but now he's drowsy. He's going to die. No, the ulti back up for Bjergsen. That CDL working overtime as Doublelift nabs the kill onto Senna, and TSM in the very extended fight are going to win the team fight.
Bjergsen Zilean well and truly online here. The ultimate really short cooldown at this point of the game. He doesn't even have the rank 3, but he starts and ends the fight with an ulti there. And TSM do come out on top in that extended fight. You know, they were having to play it very slowly because Doublelift wasn't there at the start and didn't want to just TP straight into it. But as he arrives to the fight, they're able to play it out very slowly and do end up getting an advantage. Dragon is now spawning here. Zeyzal just respawning now. will be able to get there in time, but maybe not to actually have vision. So we'll see how confident they feel to actually take this fight. As Doublelift now is on 3 items, and he has the Executioners to help deal with any sort of self-healing or Senna healing that could come through.
Yeah, truly the time made there for Bjergsen. Used like every little trick in the book to get himself back into the fight and win the extended play. As a result, that is going to be Soul Point Dragon over to TSM. But he's going to trade for vision on the left side.
That should have been Soul, right? You know, if Spiga didn't actually have that mishap earlier, we'd probably be saying this is just GG. Instead, it is just putting themselves at Soul Point, so EG's still in this game. Very close. As far as the gold lead goes, there's really no advantage, but I do like TSM's composition a lot. I just really don't like Broken Blade's build. I think it's absolutely bizarre that he has a cowl on top of the Abyssal when he got through the laning phase against Kennen without building any MR, and you're playing against Ashe, Senna, Graves, and you're itemizing this much MR. It's just so strange to me. He's not struggling in the side lane. We haven't seen him get bullied at all, so I don't get why he feels that he needs to do this. I do think, you know, if you want CDR, you can go towards Frozen Heart. That is very effective, or you can just go towards something like a Dead Man's for your engage. Yeah,
it doesn't feel like he's really in much like danger of dying to Zoe at all, especially as Treats gets more levels in the Black Shield, which will happen.
You just need health.
Yeah, which he has.
Yeah.
Plenty of that to go around. So TSM going to reset. Teams will likely start playing for Baron, given that it is the only major objective currently available. 3 items there for both Doublelift and Bang. Is EG going to stop this Baron nice and swiftly? Did catch TSM resetting.
Exactly. They saw the recalls. TSM may know it now.
Surprise!
But that is going down very quick. We'll see if Speed can get here in time. He does have all the flash, so this would be very risky. Do we commit to it?
Yeah, Speaker is going to leap over the pit. There he goes! Does not steal the Baron. It is over to EG as Speaker is forced to flash out of there.
Golden Glue got it. I'm not sure if that was just with a actual Spell Thief smite, or if he spellbooked over to a smite there, or if he just hit it with a combo. I didn't catch if he had that or not. Either way, EG do grab it off of a recall there. TSM recalled multiple members in vision of EG. EG see that, and they have so much damage in their composition. You know, this is 5 damage dealers, no tanks. So they just straight up rush it down. And now TSM are in trouble a bit here because EG are going to be on the front foot. They have got this Baron buff in the next couple minutes and could look to try to pressure and maybe open up a lead here.
I think to your point as well, like not only all that damage, but very likely 2 smites. I don't know either if Golden Glue had swapped over, but you have to think in that kind of spot, he probably had a second. So he can actually make it 3, and maybe we'll find out here.
Yeah, we should be able to see it again. So
yep,
he did just swap it. He swapped it before he got in combat while he was sitting over there to the side. And I did know that he was the one who actually got it, but that is a pretty big burst combo. Yeah, the smite didn't even go off. The last bit of health I actually saw there was around 1,200, 1,300 health. So that was a smite from Svenskeren and Golden Glue at the same time. There's no chance that Spica can actually steal that if EG time it well, and they did. So really well done by them. TSM now on the back foot are going to have to withstand this push, and Broken Blade is basing in that bot lane.
Yeah, I assume it also worked off Zoe's level when she swaps over to Smite, so it's actually really powerful for trying to take the Baron quickly. EG recognize that, they make the play, and now they're the ones with a 2,000 gold at Red Bull Baron power play. Looking to try and open up this game that has been so close for so long.
Yeah, that's been very, very close as far as the gold goes, but you know, really until EG got the Baron, I felt like TSM was the one kind of in the driver's seat because I think their composition is so powerful. There are, you know, a lot of targets here from Malphite and Zilean. You know, you have such a strong front line to actually create space for Doublelift to run over, who can be getting sped up by the Zilean and should be able to get access to deal damage as a result. He is now on 4 items, but you know, Baron obviously swings the power pretty heavily in the favor of EG, so we'll see how much they can take and if they can create a big gold lead for themselves, which could kind of turn things around.
Yeah, Baron does swing things, especially if you're able to get Siege to start. A great arrow there for Bang. Svenskeren in there. The rest of the squad, though, going to make sure Bjergsen's okay. And good amount of AoE from Svenskeren's ulti.
I mean, that's a pretty cool combo. Bang lands the arrow, Golden Glue comes in for the follow-up with the Paddle Star, Graves ult goes over top, Senna ulti comes in. You know, that is a lot of long-range damage, and they're using that pretty effectively. Yes, they didn't kill Bjergsen, but Doublelift got low, Bjergsen got low, they're pushing them back.
And again, this is where EG like to be with Baron buff, keeping up with these poke champions. Baron buff not up for too much longer, unfortunately for them, but probably enough time to get control of this dragon, which they do desperately need to make sure does not fall into the hands of TSM. And with 1 second left, on the Baron buff, they will finish off at least the tier 2 there in bottom lane. So 20 seconds now because that Mountain Dragon is up. For TSM, that is the Soul Dragon.
But look at where all the vision is from EG, right? They pushed up mid and bot to actually focus on getting vision in this quadrant to take it away from TSM. So as this spawns, they move down towards the dragon. TSM won't know if they are on the dragon, if they're waiting for a pick. You know, Zoe is actually now looking for poke out of fog. It becomes very difficult for TSM to find a way in, and as a result, it looks like they're actually just going to give this up. Bjergsen is going up towards top side, looking like he wants to push, and TSM says, all right, we don't have any vision. If we check in here and just die, we could potentially lose the game off of it. So they're going to allow EG to now get to Soul Point here just for a little bit of a top lane push because they didn't think that they were in the right spot to do it.
Yeah, Bjergsen got spotted on a ward as well, so no doubt in EG's mind that the right play here is to just take the dragon immediately, which they do. Bjergsen is splitting pretty nicely here. Good damage onto this tower. Might be able to take it. Speaker to reinforce, so it looks like they'll have enough coverage here. There's actually multiple people from TSM. The bot lane's going to move over as well as Bjergsen just finish off the tower. So a decent trade at least, but still EG up 2,500 gold. Now can contest for the objective. Still have that spellbook that Golden Glue will be able to swap back over for an extra smite. Arrow in mid lane doesn't miss double if, but can't blame Bang. He's been pretty on point all game long.
He has, and I like that he's trying, right? I like that he's not actually shying away and waiting for that perfect ultimate. You know, if that hits and you get a kill, that's you know, game changing. And sure, TSM did trade for that tower, but tower is worth a lot less. And now Bjergsen may be caught out here.
Bang, letting a rip here. Does have the ulti for Bjerg. Stun though onto Speaker. Another decent target here is Huni. He's going to get those stuns. Chaining Bang. Wishing he had his arrow back now, but still good amount of slows. Do zone TSM away from this Baron pit.
Yeah, I mean, TSM isn't happy that they healed the dragon for the tower because that much gold in the late game really doesn't matter much at all. But they basically made the judgment call. We can't get the dragon, and if you're in that situation, then sure, you take whatever you can get. In this case, it was a tower. It was a little bit of farm on Bjergsen, and he's going to be working towards a death cap, so that is pretty nice. We'll see where Broken Blade wants to go now. Has grabbed a stopwatch, so likely just going to be a stone plate. I think that's totally fine. And it looks like Spica is going to be building towards a Warmogs, which I actually think is pretty smart. If you're playing against a team that is poking very heavily and you have a Warmogs tank, then Spica's job becomes intentionally tank all of it and block everything for double lift, and then just allow the Warmogs to heal it back up every time Zoe hits you.
Yep, and for double lift now, he has finally bought some anti-Ashe/Zoe insurance. He's got QSS, so alongside Treats' Black Shield, it will be very tough to pin down this Caitlyn. So I think all the things you were saying earlier about TSM's comp feeling very good in these kind of spots, they're going to get to show that off now as Svenskeren gets crit for quite a lot of his health bar.
Yeah, that was about a third of his health, and that's with the actual damage reduction there from the Death Dance, so pretty threatening. Black Shield obviously is very scary, but you gotta be worried about that trade back. I mean, look at that. That's one auto on Golden Glue from double lift. And that was a significant amount of his health. Now they're going to be starting this up. They do have the Caitlyn traps to help zone away. Huni is very far, and Huni has nowhere good to TP to. So this may just be TSM taking it. Now he's TPing, but he's so far away in that top lane.
Yeah, TSM looks like they are going to commit to this Baron finish.
They're all grouped up, though.
Over the wall. Huni with the blast cone. There comes Huni. Finds 3. Baron goes over. It is Speaker that gets it, but TSM, what can they do now? They're going to stun up Huni. A good ult there from Broken Blade. Is going to be a trade as they'll find the shutdown, but double lift still autoing away Speaker. Low Golden Glue again. Finds an absolutely massive combo. As that's going to be the resurrect and the shutdown as Zazel finds the final nail for Double Lift's coffin. And EG still going strong as Golden Glue just opened up that fight alongside Huni. He's still going. He just got summoner spells all over the floor to pick up a Zazel. He's the one going aggro. It's 5 carries for EG. Oh. Looking to finish off TSM.
Just barely surviving there. That's actually pretty critical because otherwise they could have potentially just ended the game. Now it is still Bjergsen and Treats alive, who will be able to defend here up on that top side with the Baron buff plus the wave clear. Should be difficult, but they will lose at least an inhibitor. And they actually are looking like they want to try to push for that. Broken Blade's res timer is in about 10 seconds, so EG has to make sure that they don't overstay because Broken Blade has TP. So TSM can now chase, and they can look to TP in Broken Blade if they can actually escort them towards some of these wards. So that is what Bjergsen is doing here. He's trying to push them towards one of those wards. Here comes Malphite.
All right, Malphite, who's the target? It's going to be Bang instantly, of course. Good arrow there from Bang. He's going to try and fight his way out. EG must fight to get out of this situation, but the fight is probably not one they can win. The Resurrecto is coming up onto Bang. The bombs are perfectly timed though for Bjergsen. That's going to be the kill they need as TSM fight back.
The overextension from EG. They had a great fight, but they wanted the inhibitor so badly, and now another TP coming in. Bjergsen can try to chase and continue this.
Oh my goodness, he is so fast! Golden Glue He's going to get stunned up. He's going to go back to the portal jump. Going to get himself CC'd up, and Speaker is going to chase him down. Bjergsen just times it so well as Double Lift is going to find the ace in the hole to finish off Zoe.
Usain Bolt, who? It's Bjergsen. He's arrived, zooming on in at 1,000 miles an hour, catches another kill, and now it's TSM who are going to push for the win here. Probably 45 seconds on Golden Glue. Bang and Zazel will be up a lot sooner than that, but with the Baron buff still active, I think TSM can just go for the throat here and try to close it out.
Time Lord Bjergsen looking to keep that lifetime Zillion win rate nice and high. The Nexus towers are shot off. The kills are going to happen as Hootie gets dove and slain by Bjergsen and Speaker, and they're trying to fight out as best they can, but Svenskeren will be slain. Bang! The last bastion of defense here at the EG Nexus, but it's open, it's exposed, and it's TSM that are looking to pick up win number 10 as the Nexus will be crushed, and TSM will take down EG in a nail biter.
What a crazy ending. TSM was on point with their teleports this game. Honestly, so many long, extended fights where they got value from that teleport. And Bjergsen, I have got to say, played such an incredible game. Never once did he miss with his ultimate timing. It felt like he was always able to really walk that line between being far enough forward that you're drawing threat and too far forward that you're actually getting turned on and killed. And he never really stepped over that line multiple times, escorting members and slowing them back down to be able to get his teammates to come back in and finish off kills, guiding EG into that Malphite teleport, basing and then teleporting back in with the Glacial Augment slow to be able to get that additional kill on Golden Glue was honestly incredible from Bjergsen, and really did show us once again why he is so feared on this champion.
Yeah, he had multiple incredibly good TP players, including one in the early game where he managed to ulti twice in a very long team fight. Just, one of the champions that, again, there's a reason his win rate is so good on the pick. He just very rarely misses on this champion.
Yeah, he's been incredible, but TSM, it's not as though this game was all smooth sailing. There were errors, especially giving up the Baron, some bad recall timings. Made this game I think a lot closer than it otherwise may have been. I do think some of the itemization was a little bit strange. Broken Blade going so heavy towards the MR, but overall TSM I think are going to be pretty happy with how they played out this game. Given their composition and given the positions there, but a couple changes here and there, and they could have stomped this game, right?
Yep.
Speaking not use his smite on Svenskeren, they could have actually had Soul fairly early. If they didn't have those poor recalls and give up the Baron, that could have been a lot cleaner. And, I'm kind of going over TSM's game with this fine-tooth comb because they have TL and C9 coming up. And you don't get to make those kind of mistakes and expect to come away with a win. They are in the hunt for a top 2 spot, but they have got to be able to clean up things like that if they want to get one.
All right, with all that, double-digit wins now for TSM, but it's time for another quick break. We'll head into the Verizon post-game interview with Double Lift, though, right after this.
Honda MVP.
Dreams aren't achieved overnight. They take passion. Dedication. And even then, there are no guarantees. But for the LCS, that's the power of dreams. It means you never give up. It means you always play again. Honda, proud automotive partner of the LCS.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Verizon postgame interview. I am joined by the one and only TSM Double Lift. Double Lift, how you doing, man? Congratulations on the win. That was the definition of a banger.
Banger game. Hashtag believable.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at this one, obviously communication is something that has been talked about coming into the week. Was this just a game where things kind of went awry, or again, can communication kind of be slotted in here as something that made that happen?
Actually, our comps was way better than it was before. I think we, EG pulled out a pretty unexpected draft, I guess. Also, I completely griefed my TP early game, so usually I'm supposed to be totally even or even slightly ahead in this matchup, Caitlyn versus Ashe. And then ended up, I fell pretty far behind. And then after I messed up my TP, it was like split map, so we kind of like lost a bit of a win condition with like the early drags. I think our team was fine with like giving up a few, so we were fine with playing the longer game. But ideally, when we have like this big banger 5v5 team fight comp, you want to be contesting like every single objective, starting from when you have ults. But we weren't able to, so that's totally fine. I think the biggest mistake was really just we have a tendency, I guess, to make like one massive blunder like mid game, and I think this game it was really obvious what it was. Like we gave them Baron for free, and even when we went for the smite steal, like blue flash, so it was like a huge problem mid game that the enemy team was able to like stall out for another like 5 or 6 minutes with Baron. So yeah, I think our comps have been a lot better. I think our early game, minus my really hilariously bad TP where I TP'd back with no items, has been better. I think our team overall is just a lot better, honestly. It's just this game wasn't the best one to show it because we're only able to play like one game a day. I really wish we were able to show like a better performance than that, but a win's a win, and I'm actually really happy that I think like BB, Soren, Speak, like everyone just was playing well. Trees was playing well. Like I think our team definitely does a lot better in like stressful situations when people just calm down and they let thoughts flow more freely. I guess like important information. So I'm just communicating more than I used to, and I think I'm not sure if it shows to the fans or not, but our gameplay, our like macro has been a lot cleaner lately.
Well, Double, if you said in TSM Legends that each team you're on, by the end of the season, you expect to be the best, or you think you're going to be the best. Is this something that you put on yourself? Or is this kind of an overall drive that surrounds you?
I mean, I don't join a team unless I think the potential of the team is to be the best team in LCS, and then I feel like when I put in the work to get there, I feel like I just deserve it. That's just it. Like maybe this seems pretty ego, but if you really work hard at something and at the end of the day, you're so exhausted, you just like lay in bed and you just like pass out, and you do that every single day for weeks and weeks. I feel like hard work is always rewarded in the long run, and I think our team has been working extremely hard, and we have been extremely hard on ourselves and hard on each other while also trying to maintain like a positive and sort of supportive atmosphere, and we've been pretty successful at that. So I really have been appreciating like the team's culture and that we're very harsh on each other but still respectful. And I do think that this team, we've grown so much since the very beginning. I know that our performances in the beginning of the split were pretty horrific, and now I can say like there's some games where I'm pretty proud of how we've been playing, and maybe today is not the greatest example, but yeah, I think by the end of the split, we're going to be the best team. Whoa, we got a lighting change.
We got some light in there. That means I have to throw in another question, too. So actually, I was going to ask you how it's been playing with Treats. Obviously, you've been able to play with so many different supports, and now he comes up, obviously, has a watchful eye on him. But how's it been in that bot lane?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that people always ask me is how does it compare to Bio? And Bio is Bifrost. Vincent is one of my best friends, and it was really sad to stop playing with him, obviously. And I have a pretty rich history of playing with him, but Treats, Eric has been playing extremely well in Academy, and people have always commentated that his communication and leadership skills were really good. We obviously had a huge problem with mid-game macro and also with just sort of being proactive on the map and trying to read the map as a whole. And we think that support role is a huge part of, like a huge component of that, because support is free to ward, to move, to make plays, and to be aggressive and to be initiating things. So we thought that we would slot him in and see how he did. I think that comparatively, like, they're both great players, but Eric brings a lot of proactivity, I would say. At first, he was over communicating a lot of things, because I feel like in Academy, you do have to micromanage your little peons in Academy and try to get them to do what you want to do. Obviously, we're all elite players who don't need to be micromanaged, so we were toning down that and trying to declutter the comms. But then in the end, I think Eric is a mechanically skilled player. We've been winning almost every single lane since we started playing together, and we are, in my opinion, an elite laning bot lane who brings a lot to the table when it comes to like game knowledge, champion pool diversity, initiative, like aggression. I think we really have it all. So I've been really happy to play with Treats. I think he's one of those players where a lot of people watching LCS probably don't know anything about him, but all you need to know is that he's one of the best, if not the best support right now.
Whether he's cardboard, real, or whatever, right? Double Lift, thank you so much for joining me and taking the time to chat.
Thank you.
All right, TSM takes another win. We're going to be throwing it back to the State Farm analyst desk to break down the day.
Thank you so much, Riv and Double Lift, for shining some light on that previous game. And Double Lift himself also bringing up some of the things that happened in the mid game. But before we get to that, I want to take a look at the early game where things seem to really be going right, probably, with a bit more action from TSM being on the same page in some instances.
Yeah, this was a pretty hard early game for TSM. They were basically playing 3 losing lanes, but let's see, they got a good gank off top. So Broken Blade actually got TP advantage, and he TP'd behind their bot lane here. And they're playing, double range bot lane. So this is really squishy. And TSM ended up diving this, and this is what kind of blew open the game for TSM because, yeah, they have 3 losing lanes. So they're just getting pushed in the whole time. So if they don't make this kind of play, the early game's going to be really hard for them to start taking Drakes, which is, like Double Lift said, their win condition is we're going to group up and team fight. So this was kind of the start of TSM, finally taking control of the game. And it was off of a TP advantage, which TP advantage is probably my favorite play in League of Legends. So I was really happy they were able to pull that off.
It also came with the fact that they were able to get that kill on the top side at the beginning of the game to start getting those advantages in the top lane and kind of disrupt, like you're talking about, some of these losing matchups. It can't be understated how important that top gank was as well, and it was a good job by Spica and Broken Blade to pull that one off.
Yeah.
And with... Go ahead.
No, Spica's having a pretty improved series, or at least series of games compared to what we saw. I think it was just 2 weeks ago. So I think really the addition of Trees to at least give more direction to what the jungler needs to be doing is helping him out a lot.
And we have seen that impact, right? Just talking about these moments where everyone was on the same page, but it's the mid game that has been a bit of a consistent struggle for TSM and continued to be so to some degree. Crumbs, looking back at some of the plays, how do you think that this ended up affecting the way the rest of the game got a bit drawn out?
So these are where Broken Blade is going for a 1v1 kind of play, and there's really nothing to fight for here. There's no objective that anybody's going for. Your jungler is farming, people are just making it back into the lane. And when the Malphite's going for the solo plays, you know the Malphite's not in Malphite thinking mode, because this is not how a Malphite typically operates. And speaking of not being in a specific kind of thinking mode, Evil Geniuses pulls off a really smart move here, taking advantage of the double smite that the Zoe can bring with the spellbook. They combo the smite when TSM bases, and it's not really a 50-50. They actually get to go on, make this play, but the caveat here is TSM still makes a misplay here if it was a 50-50, because when you go internationally, teams will do that to you. They will definitely check your smite for the jungler and just try to risk it like that. So TSM needs to make sure that they think about what the enemy can do post 20 minutes around Baron, because that was the play that Double Lift cited was the largest factor in stalling the game.
And they could have avoided that too. They were doing a 4-man recall on the top side after getting total vision control, and then the enemy team, EG, put a ward down right as someone's recalling. And as soon as you recall on top of a ward after getting barrier control, the enemy team assumes you're resetting, and that's prime rush territory. Other people could have canceled their recalls once they got spotted on that pink recalling. Someone should have canceled. A couple people linger around the Baron and do a staggered reset instead of a full reset, and you can stop that play from happening.
Yeah, there's an Ashe Hawk shot as well. So it wasn't like a super secret they didn't know it was happening. It was kind of obvious, like, yeah, they saw you recall, but I am happy that EG went for it. Like, we just watched the TL Dig game where it seemed just like Doom Dig didn't really get to pull out stuff. This is like EG really had to pull this trigger. Like, their comp was not very great. TSM was going to outscale them and destroy them. So they saw people recall, and they just went for the Baron. They didn't really give a crap if it was a 50-50 or not. And that's the kind of thing, like, I want to see these teams when they feel like the game is lost, take those chances. If you already think the game is lost, like, yeah, you have nothing to lose. Just go get it. So I was happy EG like put the fight in, because that game after the bot dive, I was just thinking like, we're just waiting for the TSM victory to show up. So I like the fighting from EG.
And this is the aftermath of the Baron play, believe it or not. This is still the Baron play that went all the way from EG pushing the top inhibitor and then TSM chasing them down, not only with the Malphite teleport in the top lane, but then Bjergsen coming in, and then they're going to just end it here. So this has really just been one long replay building up to TSM ending the game.
Oh, this was actually, TSM did Baron afterwards. This is the second Baron.
Oh, my bad.
This is the second Baron.
My bad,
So TSM
my bad.
gets the Baron, they all die, and then EG is, overextending the push, which again, not the best play, but you're going to get outscaled, so take these risks. So they took the risks, and then TSM got the TP behind, and they ended up closing the game. So it's like, I'm sure it wasn't the clean closeout they wanted. Like Double have said again, they just wanted 5-man deathball team fight and then win. So winning by TPing behind the enemy after you lost a fight is like, I'm sure that wasn't written down in their playbook of how to win this game, but alas, this is how the game ends.
And with that race narrowing down on where these teams are going to land before playoffs, of course, they're wanting to put their best foot forward in each of these games. Because if we take a look at the standings, things are still looking pretty tight. You've got Team Liquid in first place, followed even so closely by Cloud9. And TSM in a competitive third, securing that spot thus far with this victory. And looking towards the bottom of our standings, we see 100 Thieves and CLG tied for 7th place, with Dig and Immortals just behind them. Of course, with the 8 making it into playoffs, it's that much spicier in the bottom of the standings. But don't forget, everybody, as far as LCS goes, the show returns tomorrow with the LCS Game Show, where the on-air talent competes in caster feud using surveys that you all filled out, Jeopardash, and the premiere of LCS Squares. That starts tomorrow at 12:15, a little earlier than our regular start, and you can catch that action before our games tomorrow, which feature Golden Guardians versus Evil Geniuses, 100 Thieves versus Dignitas, and 2 other matches before we call it for Saturday, with more games to continue after that to roll out the rest of our week number 8. But as far as things go for Friday Night League, that does it for us here on the State Farm Analyst Desk. On behalf of myself, the casters, and the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Till next time, good morning, afternoon, evening, and good night.
Good night.